And now on Who's Views, it's time to join JT, Paul, and Third Doctor Ian for the latest headlines.
It's Wednesday. It's the 23rd of April, 2025. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Who's Views. Great to see you. How are you? Hope your week is going fine and dandy. Mine isn't really. I'm shattered, I tell you. But anyway, nothing's going to stop the show. Because have you heard? Oh, yes. Well, the 7-day rating for the Robot Revolution is in, and it's not what some people were expecting. I think it was exactly what we were all expecting, though. And of course, yes. The audience share for looks was, predictably, Dan, Governor, wasn't it? It was Dan. Bedwear's rating analysis is going to be part of this particular show. I know you're all looking forward to that one because you love it. Thank you very much for everybody for sending in your comments and your emails about Bedwear's rating analysis. I know you really do enjoy it, but yes, it's coming up for you today. And yes, today is, well, it's 50 years, believe it or not, everybody. It's 50 years ago this very day since we lost the Doctor himself, our first Doctor. We're going to be doing a William Hartnell tribute very, very shortly. Yes, so joining me now on the show, let's bring in the third Doctor, Ian himself. Hello, you. How are you?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you. Bit tired too, but you know, no bad thing. Always looking forward to Who's Views, though.
Me too. It seems to be one of those weeks, really. You know, and it didn't help actually, Ian, as well, that I woke up this morning and thought it was Thursday.
Yeah, but with a bank holiday, it does that to you, doesn't it? It's you know, I'll probably wake up tomorrow and think it's July. You know, so you're fine. You're fine.
Well, I might wake up tomorrow and the whole of this version of Doctor Who is finished. Who knows what could be happening there? I don't know. I don't know. Listen, everybody, Paul is going to be with us. He's running late because he was caught in traffic. That's what happens these days, doesn't it? Straight roads and all that, Ian. So he will be with us. But here it is St. George's Day here in England. So if you're watching us from England and you are English, happy St. George's Day. Be very proud of it. Be very proud of your day. So happy St. George's Day. So from the Who-tastic panel, who could we get to join us for this very special William Hartnell tribute we're going to do as well? Oh, yes, it's George! Yeah!
And funnily enough, the reason I'm called George is because of the patron saint of England. Because my dad's family, my dad's side of the family were all Scots, and I was the first member of our family to be born south of the border, which is why I was called George.
I bet you were loved and adored by the rest of them then, weren't you? It's good to see you. Listen, we haven't seen George, we Who viewers, for quite some time because, of course, this one here is avoiding the new version of Doctor Who. Who can blame him?
So, well,
that's why he looks so untroubled, doesn't he? He looks so untroubled.
Yes. Sometimes both my brain cells work in sync and tell me what's a good plan of action.
Oh, listen, there's lots of people joining us in the chat, so it's good to see you all. Thanks for joining us this Wednesday evening for your big show. It is, of course, headlines from Who's Views. We've got John saying bank holidays mess my days up as well. They do put you out a little bit, don't they? David is saying, good evening, gentlemen, hope you're all well. And David Harding is with us saying 50 years since William Hartnell passed away. Yikes. It's still sad that he's gone, and it makes me feel really old that it's been that long. I was just saying before we came on, it's just so weird, isn't it? 50 years. Message for you here from our very own Emilio to you, Third Doctor Ian. Hello, Third Doctor. Congrats on the Leeds promotion.
It was glorious. Thank you, Emilio, my friend. It was glorious. And yeah, I'm a happy man.
I think this is something to do with the footy ball, is it?
It might be, yeah.
Oh, God, I'm bored. Let's see who else is in there. We've got Joe Parker in there saying, hi, Joe, how are you? We've got Mike Disney. We've got Woods House with us as well. Hello, hello. It's good to see you all on this Wednesday evening. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, so as I say, Paul will be with us as soon as he can do. And what we would like to know as well as we get through, and Paul Schlufter has already started this as well. We want to know what your take, your memories, if you were there 50 years ago of this sad day for Doctor Who fandom. but more at what your favorite William Hartnell moments in Doctor Who are, what your favorite William Hartnell films or television shows are, anything you want to talk about. We really want to make this, a nice show for Mr. Hartnell's memory. So put in anything that you want to here about, our love for William Hartnell, because none of us knew him. This is the big mystery about the first Doctor. None of us knew him. We've got Paul Schlafter saying, I think my first experience with William Hartnell's Doctor was getting the Dalek Invasion of Earth on video for Christmas in 1991. And I've loved his Doctor ever since. It's amazing how he absolutely captured us, really, all those years after when the videos started to come, the 5 faces of Doctor Who, when I saw The Unearthly Child back in 1981, that was the first time, of course, that loads of us would have seen William Hartnell as the Doctor. And I just remember being just, wow, there he is. There he is, the guy that started it all, just like, wow, there he is. And absolutely loved it. He was just so good.
And from that moment that he stepped into shot for the first time, about halfway through the episode, it must have been, and just gives that imperious look direct to camera. I mean, what a presence from, his very first frame as Doctor Who, without saying a word, without doing anything, you just knew that he was a character to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. He came in and he grabbed that character by the balls and he did not let go for 3 years. He was the Doctor. He nailed it first off. I mean, bear in mind, it's like Troughton and everybody else afterwards. They all had somebody to base it and progress it on and from. Hartnell had nobody. He had nothing. He had absolutely nothing. It was the absolute blank canvas. And to take that and nail it without knowledge of any of the convoluted let's face it, it's convoluted these days, any of the convoluted backstory of that character and the whole ethos of the Time Lords. Never mentioned a Time Lord once. Even Doctor Who magazine or Doctor Who Weekly, as it was when it started doing the episode endings, when it got to the Time Meddler, they had to add in that the Doctor had said, to think that a fellow Gallifreyan would do this, because they wanted to spice it up a little bit, because obviously Gallifrey wasn't mentioned until Pertwee and the Time Warrior. So Gallifrey, Time Lords, everything, it was not mentioned. It was just a mystery, and he nailed it because he was bloody good.
That's what you get when you give good actors a blank piece of paper and just say go. We've got Stephen Braddock saying to us here, JT, Talking Pictures are having a tribute to William Hartnell over the weekend, showing the comedy The Night We Dropped a Clanger. Oh, there's Paul Clangers. And the headline starring film Murder in Verse. Well, thank you for that, Stephen. Is this going to... I'm going to have to look this up, because I was just saying to George before we came on, I keep missing the William Hartnell films on Talking Pictures, and apparently one of George's favourites that came up with Patrick Troughton, that was on recently, and I missed it, and I'm really annoyed. We've got Garbage with us as well. Hello, Garbage. It's good to see you. Thanks for being in there with you. And My Rock, who is with us. Hello, you. Hello, every William Hartnell is very missed. Yes, William Hartnell is missed. Matt the Silent Wee Music King is saying William Hartnell's father is unknown. Well, thanks for sharing that one. Well, different times. And Connor's saying, R.I.P. Doctor Who, God bless you all. Go on, George.
If you've ever read William Hartnell's biography, written by his granddaughter, Jessica,
a long time ago,
yeah, it's very much a love letter to him, but she doesn't pull any punches about him as well. She's very open about the flaws that he had, and the fact that he did invent or reinvent his early life. That he said that he was originally from a little village in Devon, and he grew up in a rural background, and he sort of fell into acting, and the reality was very, very different to that.
Do you know what? I had that book in hardback. Remember when it came out? And I don't have. I wonder where it's gone, because it's not anywhere here. And I was thinking, where the hell has that gone? Somebody's obviously borrowed it at one point in the day and not brought it back. Thank you very much, Digby, for your super chat. 5 Faces was my first experience of Hartnell. He was such a wonderfully distinctive actor. He took the part and he ran with it. And that's what Ian was saying there as well. He really did. It was just a gift. Lots of you also already given us comments, Joes. Let me go through some of these. For me, says David Harding, the first time I saw William Hartnell's Doctor was in The Three Doctors. And over here in Canada, by the time I got to see that, he'd already been dead for a few years. Forbidden Man is saying to us, I was shocked when the first regeneration of the Doctor happened. And Duncan Evans, I think the only non-Who DVDs of William Hartnell I have are Brighton Rock and Carry On Sergeant. Two great films, though. Stephen Braddock, I love Hartnell's speech to the Cybermen and the 10th Planet. And Atherstone 55, my first time seeing him was The Three Doctors when it was aired, one of the earliest episodes I remember watching. And John Roberts, although I never saw his episodes at the time, his Doctor is now one of my favorites. You can say the same thing, though, can't you, George? I mean, you love William Hartnell's Doctor.
Oh, very much so. I mean, the myth's grown up that it was the Daleks that brought success to Doctor Who. I mean, I would argue that the 4 episodes that make up Unearthly Child, unlike the myth that's grown up, were not a ratings failure. They were successful in their own right. Yes, the Daleks took it to the next level, but the original story was there, was enough of a success to give the BBC confidence in the series anyway, and that is 100% down to William Hartnell. I think what's fascinating about Unearthly Child is watching the pilot version of the original episode and the broadcast version side by side, and seeing how it gave William Hartnell the opportunity to fine-tune and put some real nuances into his character, just with that one, if you like, dress rehearsal that he had.
Yeah. And it's also, when you look at that pilot, and we were very lucky that we actually got that eventually on VHS. Remember when it came? I was very excited to get that. And looking at that original, I can see what they were saying about his character and what have you. But the way he took that, and he did work on that, and it became... But I don't actually think there's that much wrong with the first one, to be honest.
Yeah. But apparently it was William Hartnell who went back and said, no, the character's too rough around the edges. I want to make these changes to it.
Yeah,
it wasn't Waris Hussein or Verity Lambert that said, we just need to tweak this a bit, Bill. It was William Hartnell who said, no, this is not what it should be. This is how I want to do it.
Again, another, gift for a good actor. When I haven't quite grasped that properly yet. And off he went and ran. Craig Dunlop is saying, my earliest memories of Doctor Who are from Hartnell's final series on the show, namely Web Planet and 10th Planet. Though being so young, my memories of the time are limited. And Julianne saying, William Hartnell oozed mysterious time traveler. Always gave the impression he knew more than he was letting on. Totally did, didn't he? And you see that in the episodes now. I just wish they would go back to that sort of character, because we've all agreed the show these days has so much baggage with it.
Yeah.
And as you're saying there at the beginning, Ian, he didn't have any of that. And he was able to bring up such a wonderful character. Wouldn't it be wonderful if they just went back to that version of the Doctor?
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, they were trying to reintroduce some mystery, weren't they, with Sylvester McCoy? And, they were going down a certain route with it and suggesting that perhaps he was slightly more than he was supposed to be. But you can't, that initial level of mystery, the fact that nobody knew anything, we couldn't say, he was just the Doctor. He wasn't even known as the first Doctor. He was just the Doctor.
The Doctor. And that's all you need.
Such a blessed relief as well. Now it's the 15th or the 16th or the 574th, if you believe all that.
He was just a figure who stepped out of the fog, who 5 minutes later was saying, we are not of this earth, we are not of this time.
And there's the whole story, George.
And
from those brilliant lines and his way of delivering it, 26 years. Ta-da! There you go. 7 of them. All because of this man. Wonderful. It's great to see you all joining us with your memories here and your favourite bits. Thank you, Bill, Larry, and everybody else for your comments. Without Hartnell making the series popular, it would have ended when he left. There's that side of it. I know everybody says, Troughton took it and made it his own thing and helped it. But no, it was established by Hartnell. There's no doubt about it. And the only reason the show is there today is because he was so successful. He helped, along with the Daleks, to push this show into the public psyche here in the UK. And then that was built on by Troughton, Pertwee, and especially Baker later on with his mammoth 7-year run. But they own it. He's the gaffer, isn't he? He really is to this day. Hartnell's the gaffer.
I mean, not only did Hartnell make it a success in the UK, he made it an international success, because within a year it was selling around the world and being a very popular program around the world.
Yeah.
And it's, as we know, it's because of that we've still got the majority of his episodes to watch and enjoy today.
Two lovely points here. One from Steve Hindley: William Hartnell's talent is the reason this modern travesty still exists. And then Joe's coming back saying, I cannot imagine what William Hartnell would think of Doctor Who now. I'd hate to think if he was around he would not like it. Mind you, he wouldn't like this modern day world anyway, would he really? No, and all the messes when you can't even tell a man from a woman, for crying out loud. Here's one for you, George, then, from Duncan Evans. He wants to know, what was the name of the 1950s movie that he appeared in with John Pertwee?
It was called Will Any Gentleman? And quite rightly, as you said, Duncan, both John Pertwee and William Hartnell appeared in it. Pertwee actually had higher billing than William Hartnell in that one, and because William Hartnell was pretty much just a guest appearance, and he doesn't do a scene with John Pertwee, though they both appear in the same film. It's a very entertaining comedy. Rex Harrison is the lead actor in it. And then the other one to look out for is a film called Escape, where William Hartnell appears with Patrick Troughton. And they are actually on screen together during that film, and I think Escape, along with Will Any Gentleman, turns up on TV fairly regularly.
It's one of the ones I missed about 3 or 4 weeks ago on that channel we're all talking about here that I can't remember. What was it called?
Talking Pictures TV.
Yeah, one of Paul's favourites as well.
Terrific channel.
It is, and as somebody was saying to me there, and I'm sorry, I've lost that chat. Get onto the mailing list. I must do. I've got to get onto that. Mark, hello, Mark A. Right, he was mysterious and is often forgotten, dangerous. Could you really trust him? Yet you were drawn to him. That was part of the magical performance, Mark. Right, wasn't it, guys? About Hartnell's Doctor.
Yeah, I mean, point in case again in An Unearthly Child. Is it The Forest of Fear? He was on the point of bashing a caveman's skull in with a rock, and yet you completely buy it, and it's completely in character.
Yes.
Yeah, totally, 100%. I mean, Zara had been injured by that tiger or whatever it was, hadn't he? And they wanted to get away, and he was just like, no, focused on getting back to the TARDIS. He was going to do it, wasn't he?
Yeah, and the fact that the one thought in his mind was Susan's and his safety. And basically, he couldn't give a toss about Ian and Barbara.
Yeah, I love that though, because that shows how the Doctor developed from there to where we got to know him through 26 years. And it was actually, when you think about it, that alienness of the Doctor was never really recaptured. I know Colin tried to do it. I tried to do something with it, but it was never really recaptured again because of all the legacy that goes with the show now and with the character now and all the baggage that goes with him. But those beautiful moments, I love that because it shows how just what an effect Ian and Barbara had on the character and how Hartnell went with that, and how he played it. So this was an ensemble piece. This wasn't just about him. This was an ensemble piece originally. I love that. Paul Schlafter is saying to us, I do love that he was proved right at the beginning of the series. He knew this was a great program that could run and run and run, and it did. How wonderful. Bless him. Bless him. If you've just joined us, welcome to Who's Views. It is Headlines. It's Wednesday, the 23rd of April. Lots coming up for you in the show, including Bedweir's rating analysis. But right now, we are actually marking the fact that today is indeed the 50th anniversary of the day that we lost our first Doctor, the man himself, the gaffer, William Hartnell, who died at 67, 50 years ago today. That's nothing today. Everybody, isn't it? Nothing at all.
No age. No.
We know he'd been unwell for some time, but when you look at it now, and I want to ask you guys, I was very small, and I have a vague memory of being confused because I'd seen something or heard something, and this Doctor Who had died, as they do in the press even back then, and got confused because he just changed from the white-haired guy to the curly-haired guy with the scarf. And I do remember my dad sitting me down and saying, no, this was the actor who played the first one, the old man with the white hair. And I remember this talk from my dad telling me about how he remembered Hartnell and how Hartnell was his Doctor Who. And it was mind-blowing, all because of what was in the news now. Do either of you guys remember this day 50 years ago?
I've got a memory of seeing the news report announcing that William Hartnell had died, I can remember my dad sort of calling me into the living room because this news item had just come on. And I remember there was a clip from one of his episodes, which turned out to be from it was the lead into the Savages, wasn't it? It was the end of the Celestial Toymaker.
No,
sorry, the end of the Gunfighters. The end of the Gunfighters going into the
right.
Did he not say the line, "Well, we'd best be off," or something like that?
Can't remember. But for years, I was convinced it was from another story. I mean, for years and years, I thought it was the beginning of the arc, and it wasn't. But I do remember that, and I can remember what turned out to be Peter Purves and Jackie Lane standing in the conversation they were having, when Jackie Lane saying, "Well, where are we, past, present, or future?" And William Hartnell said something like, "Oh, very much into the future now."
Wow.
And as a lot of people have said in the chat, the first direct memory I've got is seeing the Three Doctors when that was originally broadcast.
Yeah.
And wondering why he wasn't as involved in the adventure as the other two were.
Yeah, well,
there was an in-story explanation, and there was a real-world explanation as well. But I remember thinking, well, why isn't he in the TARDIS with them? Why isn't he fighting Omega with them?
Oh, black kids! Well, kids back then, young kids wouldn't have understood that he was a poorly man, would they? Really? No, it's a shame, really.
I was pushing my luck, trying to stay up late, and I'd managed to get it and see the 9 o'clock news. And I think the news presenter, I have a memory of it being the guy that I think was Richard Widmark. I know there's an actor of a very similar name, but I'm sure there was a news reporter called Richard Widmark or something like that. And I think he was doing the 9 o'clock news, and the William Hartnell article came on. And it obviously struck you like a bolt because it said Doctor Who had died and everything.
Yeah.
And I remember this clip where I'm sure he said something like, he was in the TARDIS with a couple of people and said, "Well, we'd best be off, or must be off," or something like that. And for years, I just assumed that was Dalek Invasion of Earth. I don't know why. Possibly because Susan wasn't there. I don't know. My first view of anything actually Hartnell was Blue Peter, when they did a clip of Dalek Invasion of Earth when Ian and the Doctor were caught by the river. And he had that head-to-head with the Dalek. And then about a year or so later, there was it was some afternoon guest show, and they had Duncan Goodhue, the swimmer, on.
All right.
And Duncan Goodhue was a big Doctor Who fan.
Yes, he was. Remember that? Yeah.
They showed another clip of Dalek Invasion of Earth from episode 6, with the Daleks coming on the control room and everything, ending with Hartnell saying they dare to, not Ian, who was it that Susan copped off with?
David
said they dare to tamper with the forces of creation, and the Doctor said yes, and we have got to dare to stop them. And that's where the clip ended. And my God, that was one. And then it was 5 Faces of Doctor Who. For me, but I vividly remember that news article. Sad day.
I'd seen An Unearthly Child all 4 episodes before the 5 Faces broadcast, because it was screened at a Dwaz convention that I was at, I think 2 years beforehand, or maybe a year beforehand. Anyway, Heather Hartnell was at that convention, and I was lucky enough to get to meet her and have a chat with her. And I can remember to this day chatting with her, and she's saying that had he still been there, she said Bill would have been so proud and so happy to see young people enjoying what he did so long ago. And the fact that what came out of what he did originally, is this hugely successful program that's still going to this day with this huge amount of fan adulation around it.
Yeah. Oh,
wonderful.
That's me. We've got a lot of memories coming in from the chat as well. Julianne is saying to us here, my older brother Stephen was quite moved at Hartnell's passing. It was his Doctor, and he loved Doctor Who from its beginning. That's nice to know. We've got John Cartwright saying here, William Hartnell on the Beatles when I was 9. Happy childhood. Still able to enjoy it all today. Stephen Braddock saying to us, I remember on the news in 75 that they announced Doctor Who had died, and I immediately thought Tom Baker had passed on instead. Yeah, it's awful when they say that, when they use the character, isn't it, rather than the actor's real name. A couple of the guys were telling you, Ian, it was Richard Whitmore. There's a name, everybody. There's a name. And Digby Strawbridge saying it's a testament to the classic series that so many of us have a memory of a family member telling us about the first Doctor. It's a tribute to the strength of the series and how popular and how important it was then, you know, for all of us, because it was, I mean, bearing in mind, it was only, 14, 15 years old, Doctor Who, at this point, but that was still a long time for a show back then. You only had Coronation Street, let's face it, that had gone on for longer. Let's be honest.
Season 12 was coming to the end of its run on TV when William Hartnell died.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it
so
shows
Tom Baker's first year.
Tom Baker's first year. Duncan said, when BBC Two repeated the Time Medal in 1992, I was totally captured by the story, and it remains my favourite of the first Doctor. Yeah, we looked at that.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one, Duncan. It's an absolutely wonderful story. It's just such a shame that William Hartnell had a week off during the making of it. And he did count for episode 3, but it is pure gold. It really is.
It's a
good for him, I say. Yeah, Marie UK said my dad hasn't watched Doctor Who since Hartnell. He thinks that should never. He thinks that they should never have put Doctor Who in colour and kept more of the horror atmosphere. Well, yeah, probably. Yeah. No, I'm not going to go into today's version today. Yes. And Doug D. Nice to see you, Doug D. First time I saw Hartnell in 1969 on our PBS station. After that, I was hooked. I was a Who fan. I'm just ashamed of what they've done with the Doctor. Well, you're on the right channel for that one, I tell you.
Doug, was that Marco Polo by any chance?
I think this is Mark Reeves. As long as we have fans like these on this channel, Hartnell will live forever. Well, absolutely, he will live forever, as far as we're concerned. And thanks to his fabulous interpretation of the Doctor, so he should, because no matter how they try to rewrite it, it's not going to happen. Is it? It's just absolutely ridiculous that even anybody would even try to do that. Forbidden Man, what you think? Can I just read this from Forbidden Man? What a big moment that was when he dumped Susan on Earth. He just dumped her on Earth. Seeing she needed to develop more into an adult, then continue with an old buffer like him, that was a massive move. And played brilliantly, wasn't it, everybody? I think we're all...
Two of them, yeah.
I mean, that emotion was real, I think, from Hartnell.
Well, I think I said when we reviewed the Dalek Invasion Earth, the way the programme was made then, when they were shot not only in episode order but scene order, the chances are that was the last scene that he and Carol Ann Ford recorded together.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. What were we going to say, Ian?
I was just going to say that considering everything that he did and what he took from nothing and what he built and what legacy he created that carries on to this day, it just underlines the absolute depth of the disrespect that people like Chibnall and the BBC that ran with it showed him. I think it's unforgivable.
All for DEI as well, isn't it? Let's be very honest. All for DEI. Five Faces, says Mark A. Wright, gave us that double dose of Hartnell. Yeah, even though it had only been 2 weeks, it was like reacquainting with a favourite cantankerous uncle in the Three Doctors. And Matt the Siley Music King is saying to us, I've only seen An Unearthly Child, The Edge of Destruction, The Aztecs, and The 10th Planet. Part of me there, Matt, is screaming, going, how could you? But part of me is also saying, you have so much in store. Yes, you have some treats coming your way because his performance. And yes, we hear an awful lot about, the fact that he would fluff his lines and stuff like that, but he owns it, and it doesn't matter because the performance of his Doctor, the original, is incredible. It's such a tour de force.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it doesn't matter how dated the way television was made at the time looks today, how under budgeted it looks, how threadbare parts of it may look. Every single Hartnell episode is worth watching for William Hartnell. Like for me, like Patrick Troughton, John Pertwee, and Tom Baker, the four of them just bring it to life every single time. That's the mark of somebody at the top of their game to me. That he just makes it shine no matter what it is.
There's something about, from Hartnell's legacy, no disrespect to all the millions that have followed him, but there's something about those first four that for me are magical. And it starts with him, and they build on what it's a natural sort of progression in a sense for me. And when I see those pictures, like from the infamous Doctor Who monster book, where you got those pictures on the logo at the very beginning of the book, the four of them, that just hits me all the time, even today as Doctor Who. And as a little boy, I was always fascinated by Hartnell. You know, the first one, there's the first one, because even coming through the paper, there was a sense of mystery around his portrayal, because obviously I'd never seen him, and the fact that, wow, how did that he become him? And you know, all this sort of, and all the pictures of him looking stern, you know, with the celestial toy maker and doing all this and all that, and I just think, wow, you know, I was just treasure those memories. I really, really do. Kirsty's with us. Look at this. She's on honeymoon and she's still popping in. Hello, lady. How are you? Kirsty of the chat. I'm getting a Doctor Who book from Papa of the chat and him explaining the first Doctor. First memory. Oh, lovely. How lovely. How lovely. So we've done the Doctor Who bit. So let's have a look at that. Anybody got any favourite moments from Hartnell's performances out of Doctor Who?
For me, it has to be Carry On Sergeant. And I know he pretty much ported his character from the Army game over to Carry On Sergeant. Yeah. I mean, you know, as well as being the original Doctor Who, he was the original top-billed Carry On star. And it was only again, I'm not telling tales out of school here, but it was his demands for an inflated fee that stopped him from being a Carry On regular.
It's true, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, we talked about that when we actually reviewed Carry On Sergeant at the start of our Carry On series, didn't we? But
it shows that he had impeccable comic timing. You know, he could be so deadpan, so straight-laced, but so achingly funny simultaneously. You know, when you've got, you know, he's on screen doing a two-handed comedy skit with Bob Monkhouse and Carry On Sergeant, and Bob Monkhouse is you know, practically gurning at the camera, and you know, really playing it broad. And William Hartnell is just so straight down the line, and it's Hartnell that's making you laugh, not Bob Monkhouse. And I'm not having a go at Bob Monkhouse there. No. But you know, you know, Hartnell knew how to deliver comedy with surgical precision.
Yeah. Well, he did, didn't he? And again, it showed his talent and his ability to understand what a script was. I mean, this guy, from all accounts, worked very hard at every job he was given, as they used to do back then, by the way.
Well, there's a story behind that, because he was originally cast in a prominent feature role in the Noel Coward film In Which We Serve. And this was it 1944, 45, somewhere around then? By that time, William Hartnell had done a huge number of British films, and from the introduction of talkies through to that point, the British film industry, I think it's fair to say, is pretty much a cottage industry. But William Hartnell was one of the backbones of it. You know, if you were going to see a British movie in your local flea pit, the chances are you're going to see William Hartnell on screen. He did that many movies. So when he got cast in Which We Serve, and he told this story himself in later years and was very open about it. He walked onto set with a bit of an attitude that, you know, he was this hugely experienced film actor. He knew what he was doing. He could call the shots. He rolled up late one day. Noel Coward had a word with him and said, "No, that's not what we do. You're here on time." He rolled up the following day, even later, and Noel Coward sacked him.
Ooh.
And he didn't appear in the finished film. He was recast and his scenes were reshot.
So that taught him a lesson then.
Yeah, that taught him a lesson in a big way. And apparently, you know, the day after that happened, it was such a wake-up call for him that he had a reputation from that point onwards of being the consummate professional. And certainly, I know, because Peter Rogers, excuse my name dropping, producer of the Carry On films, told me about William Hartnell. He said exactly that. He said, if, you know, Bill's call was to be on set at 8 a.m. He was there at 7:50. He was word perfect. He'd been through makeup. He'd been through costume. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was ready to go for the first setup like that. You could not fault him.
You see, sometimes you need somebody like Noel Coward to put you in your place, don't you, really? We need more of that sort of person today, I think. Great story, that, George. We've got Yokai63 saying to him, I liked him in This Sporting Life and The Hell Drivers. Sir Sydney Rough Diamond, hello to you, is also saying The Sporting Life. And we've got Stephen Braddock saying, I love him in The Mouse That Roared. Now, that's the other film I missed just a few weeks ago on that
With
channel,
Peter
I tell
Sellers.
you.
Can I just say The Hell
Peter
Drivers?
Sellers.
The Hell Drivers is worth watching because of the amazing cast in it. I mean, in the same film, you've got Doctor Who, James Bond, and Sid James. You know,
Amazing. Amazing. All of whom went on to 3 huge, of course, British classics. Duncan is saying to us, that moment towards the end of the Carry On Sergeant when the recruits start to work for him and he tries to hide his pride and maybe a tear. Again, Hartnell just plays that wonderful, that scene. It's just, you feel it, don't you? It's absolutely, in a British way. You get that. Yes, you're getting there because we don't show emotion, or we didn't do in those days. And PTA's with us. Hello, Paul Thomas Ashworth. He appeared in numerous Shakespearean plays, including The Merchant of Venice, Julius Caesar, As You Like It, Hamlet, The Tempest, and Macbeth, all in 1926. And he's got that from Wikipedia. It wouldn't surprise me because they all had to do in those days. We had this thing called rep. And if they were going round, they all had to tour, didn't they? And get into rep and do various pieces and play 2 or 3 parts in a Shakespeare 2 or 3 times a day. So that, yeah, but that was the training ground back then. They don't do that sort of stuff anymore, do they? It's a shame.
I think they just seem to go straight into TV, don't they? But I mean, what you were saying, George, about his affinity with comedy. I mean, I know we're looking beyond Doctor Who, but he just injects it just at the right time when you least expect it. Dalek Invasion of Earth, episode 1. You know, is exploring the derelict factory and everything with Ian Chesterton. And Chesterton tells him to be careful, and he just goes, yes, I'm not a half-wit. He just drops the line. He just drops it and moves on, and you're left there going, my God, that was brilliant. You know, the timing, the delivery, absolutely perfect. But I liked him in Sporting Life and Mouse That Roared, where they invade New York, don't they? And think they're taking over America. Yes. But
and how bizarre to see William Hartnell in colour.
Yes, it is a bit, isn't it? Really, yeah. And that Sporting Life was repeated again just over Christmas there on the channel. It's always a good one, isn't it? And one of my favourites, though, I have to say, though, is what Dot Martin, who is saying to us here. Hartnell was brilliant as Dallow in Brighton Rock. I love Brighton Rock. There's something about it that is just quintessentially British and fantastic. At one point, he vaulted over a barrier and punched the main villain on the chin, and he looked so young. Well, I suppose he was. Although he always looked a little bit older, didn't he? Hartnell, he had this sort of. I mean, he was only in his 50s when he did Doctor Who, and then he looked.
He was 55 when he started doing Doctor Who. But you look at him and you think, he's probably a lot older than that, but he was 55.
Farsight is saying, I remember is that the Yahtzee incident?
Yahtzee incident, yes, which also featured Bernard Cribbins.
Did it?
Yes.
I love it. And there's another one, St. Rosie Mead, Hell Drivers with McGowan and Baker. There's so many that you're all loving here.
It's depressing now to think I am significantly older than Hartnell was when he was a doctor.
I know, yeah.
Even older than when he left as well.
Yes, I've had similar thoughts when I've reached certain numbers, and I've thought, I'm older than William Hartnell was when he was doing Doctor Who. How was that even real?
We'll start a support group, George.
Julianne is saying to us here that the Hell Drivers is fab, and Darren Appleman, good to see it. Hell Drivers is a classic. It also features Patrick McGowan. That's what George was saying. I'm going to have to look this one up. And Forbidden Man saying Brighton Rock playing a bad guy, but not happy with the way Pinky was going by duping his girlfriend to commit a crime was not cricket with him. It's just a brilliant film, Brighton Rock. I absolutely love it. I tell you, somebody else that's coming on now that's got plenty of memories, of course, of Mr. Hartnell. It's Paul. Hello to you.
Hello. I just caught the end of that conversation, and I've had the same thoughts about I'm the same age as Hartnell. I'm 59 in November, so I'm older than William Hartnell was when he finished playing Doctor Who. So I feel so old. I'm telling you. Yeah.
Well,
you can join the support group as well, Paul.
Yes. Where do I sign up, Ian? Please, I'll do it now. Yeah.
We'll sort it backstage afterwards.
Yeah. We've got the Chorus Sci-Fi and Fantasy joining us saying, I've been listening to the soundtrack to The Reign of Terror. It's so good. I love the historicals, and Hartnell always delivers the best performance. I've also watched Potluck. He was great in that. Now, Potluck I did see last summer, I think it was. We forget, don't we? We absolutely forget that Hartnell was, again, he was one of those actors at the time, a huge star.
He was.
And we mentioned it before from the films and what have you. So every time you see one of his films come out, you go, here's another one. It's another one. He did loads.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his entry on IMDb, you know, his filmography is extensive. I mean, a lot of his early films are missing films at the moment. It's not known if they still exist or not.
Wow.
But as I said before, you know, he was churning them out. You know, he was doing 6-7 films a year at one point.
There's a great film that's been shown on Talking Pictures TV called The Agitator with John Laurie and him. It's superb, really good. And that was discovered fairly recently, I believe.
Really?
It's a great movie, yeah.
See, it shows that they're out there. Yeah. Some of these British films are out there, everyone.
Yeah.
Talking of John Laurie, the one film that William Hartnell didn't do, which I wish he had done, was The Abominable Dr. Phibes. He was originally cast to play a small role in that film as a music shop owner, but unfortunately his ill health prevented him from doing it. And at the very last moment, he was replaced by John Laurie.
John Laurie?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's another great film. Footsteps from the Fog is a brilliant movie. With or without Hartnell, it's a great movie, but he's good in it as well. Yeah,
I haven't seen. I love this because it's educating me of all the things I've missed out of because I've been too busy.
Stuart Granger is brilliant in that movie. Really good, fantastic film. Yeah.
But thanks, Stephen. We've got Daryl with us, guys. Daryl Joyce, the artist extraordinaire, is with us saying, I have strong memories of the red section of the Radio Times 10th anniversary special with the photos and first episode titles of his stories. Fired the imagination.
That's where the trouble started, remember?
Yes, indeed, yes.
Again, that was part of that mystery, wasn't it? Because if any of the young ones were coming to the 10th anniversary special and had vague memories of Hartnell or whatever, that must have done that. It must have been, you know, really, really special to get, oh, this is the guy. Wonderful. And we've got a question, guys, for all of us from Paul Schlefter. What did the panel think of the Points West interview he did in 1966 after he left Doctor Who and when he was doing the panto? I think he was heartbroken having had to give up Doctor Who.
Also, I think the interviewers, the questions are very loaded questions, aren't they? They can see they're stirring them up, you know, quite badly.
Am I right in saying that the footage that does survive is the parts of the interview that weren't used in the programme?
I have heard this, but I couldn't confirm. It wouldn't surprise me because
basically the offcuts, and he does come across as being a right old grump. You know, he's been caught on a bad day there.
Do you know what though? I'm not surprised because as Paul says there, it's a bit what we've called today now when you can see these people trying to these alleged journalists trying to be clever and make themselves look good by giving people a question that think you know
they're trying to ambush them, aren't they? That's what they're trying to do, really.
That's exactly what it comes across as, even in the 60s. And I would get a bit sort of like, go away. You know, why are you talking to me?
I mean, he is on record as saying that yes, he you know, his very words were he didn't give the part up willingly. And yes, apparently his Heather, his wife, admitted that after, and he said himself that after he left Doctor Who, the trauma of leaving the role, he had a nervous breakdown, which took him some time to recover from that. And also the panto that we're just referring to there, he was playing Doctor Who in all but name in that panto. You know, he was wearing a variation of his Doctor Who costume. The Daleks appeared in it.
Have you seen the picture, George, of him in panto? He's got like a Harpo Marx style wig, and he's holding his lapels like that, as he would do.
And he's got the Astrakhan hat and everything.
It's an amazing picture.
But the brilliant thing about that is that's 1966. It's 20 odd years before Nathan Turner would do something similar, and before other panto producers would start doing similar as well. Because that's what you do if you've got a character, or you've got an actor that's coming in with a huge character. you put the character in the panto because that's what the public recognise, isn't it? It's part of the gag.
I mean, he was billed as television's original Doctor Who
right.
in the publicity for the panto, but it wasn't well received. It wasn't a success.
No.
So that must have been a very unhappy experience for him.
I don't think he enjoyed it at all personally. I really don't. I think he was still on the come down from leaving Doctor Who, and it just didn't look right for me, that one.
You probably said this already, but I think Hartnell's contribution to Doctor Who is massive, and it's hugely underrated, I think, which is quite sad. And I think it's massive. People often say that Patrick Troughton helped, continue the series, but he started it and deserves the credit for that because he's an amazing actor, not just in Doctor Who, but his film career mentioned already, and lots of theatre and television he's done. Amazing actor. Should get more respect than he does, I think.
Yeah. Well,
I think with that Points West interview, I think if we look back with today's perspective, he was probably experiencing some depression at that point after what had happened to him.
Yeah.
But he was also suffering from a degenerative illness, and for an interviewer to do that to him nowadays would probably see that interview and never work again. And so the way he was treated then and the way he was hijacked then, I think, was an example of absolute cruelty, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
I think he was very fragile, and I think probably for his own benefit, he probably didn't really want to do that. Probably wasn't wise that he did that pantomime, but he'd been working all his life. It'd be second nature to him, wouldn't it? He'd want to get another job.
He's a real grafter, wasn't he? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, his health prevented him from working on a regular basis as an actor. One of the few television appearances he made after Doctor Who was an episode of Softly Softly.
All right.
Which I think I'm right in saying is missing from the archives.
I think it is,
yeah. And apparently he plays a character that was heavily implied was in an incestuous relationship with his sister.
Oh.
Maybe it's just as well as missing then.
All the reviews of it that survive say it was an absolutely brilliant performance by William Hartnell, and you wouldn't believe that it was the same actor who played Doctor Who. He was so compelling in this episode of Softly.
It's interesting you said, George. He did a Cliff Richard show, didn't he, in the late 60s?
Well, we've just got that. We've got that. We've got Dalek High first of all saying, even though it's a sad reason, it's lovely to talk about proper Doctor Who. It absolutely is, and the proper Doctor as well, the original, the gaffer. But Paul, John Mason saying, anybody seen that thing he did with Cliff Richard? Now this is new to me. What's
it's
this?
on the Tube of View. You'll find it if you look up.
Yes, really? Make a note of this.
And he's really good in it, but he is very in that. That's why I mentioned this. In that, George, he's very much like Doctor Who. He's doing all the lapel tugging, and he's Cliff Richard's dad in it. And he's really good at it, though, I have to say, considering that's towards the end of his career.
Well, John's telling us he plays a shopkeeper. I've never heard of this. All these years later, goodness me, and I'm not in. So, was this in one of these things? Cliff had a show then, I take it, for the BBC.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me because they all did in our day, didn't you? Remember Scylla and Lulu and Shirley and everybody had a show. That was entertainment back then, everybody, I tell you. Thanks for that, John. I'm going to look that up.
You should. Very good. Yeah.
Lee Smith is saying to us, I wonder what Hartnell would have thought of Davros. Not much. I'm sure. I'm sure he would have thought. Just going back to Doctor Who, as we do now, actually, I don't know if any of you've probably seen these before, but I wanted to show these because it's nice to see him in rehearsal mode, isn't it? So we've got these pictures from rehearsal mode. And
that is a lovely picture. But what is the thing behind Jean Marsh? I don't mean Peter Purves.
I think that's Peter Purves.
Yeah. Thank you, George. Thank you. Okay. So isn't
that the Daleks' time visual thingy? What's it?
I don't know. It's got me flummoxed.
Can I?
The time-space visualizer.
Yes. But, Jean Marsh and her cool cat's sunshades there.
You wouldn't necessarily have seen... you can see the position of the camera and everything. And we always saw the doors to the left. So we would never... That was probably just placed there out of shot, wasn't it? I don't think that would have been
probably maybe.
It could be just to be moved into another set or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they didn't have loads of room, did they?
No, that's true.
Oh, no room at all. Let's have a look at this one.
That's a cracker. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Has that been colorized by Clayton Hickman or something like that?
Yes, I think this is colorized by Clayton. Yeah, isn't it amazing?
It's really nice, really lovely. Yeah, yeah.
They've got rid of the power unit above by this point, haven't they?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was long gone at this point.
Yeah,
quite unwieldy though, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably a Blue Peter shelf unit by now. Yeah. And then there's this one which I like because Mr. Butterworth's in it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Is that Douglas Camfield sitting down there as well? Is it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I think
very young Dougie Camfield.
Wow.
Gene Marsh sunbathing there, I think.
Legend.
Yes, and Peter Butterworth dressing appropriately for a rehearsal in a jacket, collar, and tie.
Yeah,
yes.
The monks come as a businessman in that particular shot. Yes.
Yeah. I love these things. I love these, but it's nice to see them just,
so
getting on with it, isn't it? Really,
that all those shots are from the same episode because William Hartnell and Gene Marsh are wearing the same clothes.
Yes, same day, I would imagine as well.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to see them, isn't it? And how they would just from there go, get it done in one.
Again,
that's the Planet Tigers, isn't it? They're on, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's
similarly some wonderful rehearsal shots in the rehearsal room from the Gunfighters with William Hartnell, Peter Purves, and Jackie Lane. And they're obviously getting used to holding a revolver or a pistol because some of the props are in the rehearsal room with them. And the rest of the cast of the Gunfighters are there as well, and they're fascinating to see.
Some of the photographs, I think, I don't know if that one's in the Jessica Carney's biography, but there's a great photograph of Hartnell doing hospital visits in that book. Have you sourced any of them, JT, at all? They're fabulous.
I've got one of them, but I didn't load it up.
No way, but it's a great. What I was going to say was that picture's lovely to see him with the fans, and like when you see him, opening fates and stuff like that. Fantastic shot. It looks like he's at an early Doctor Who convention with a fan TARDIS behind him. He's behind a mic. It's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous.
The 8mm cine footage that's known to exist of William Hartnell doing an appearance at an air show somewhere.
Farnborough, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
It's Farnborough. Yeah. The adulation coming from the crowd for him, even on silent cine film, it's just a tidal wave, and you can see that he's loving every second of it.
And that shows how big the show was, doesn't it? Really, I mean, it's massive. Yeah.
Yeah. Digby's pointing out as well that in that picture, Gene Marsh was looking very. Of course, Gene Marsh, who we've just lost recently as well. We will be coming back to talk about Gene Marsh, everybody. Stay with us here on Who's Views. Make sure you're subscribed. If you have already subscribed, please make sure you're still subscribed. Thank you very much. I love that picture, though, because I'm wondering what she's thinking and what she's doing. And why was she in the shades? Would she have a little bit of a hangover? Was it because of the lights?
It's to avoid the glare of the lights, isn't it? Pertwee does it quite a lot. And you look at the shot of the Time Monster with Delgado and Ingrid.
If the lighting guys are setting up the studio lighting ready for the recording, the light levels will go up enormously whilst the cameras get the right light level. So you're quite right, Paul, that actors would obviously often put sunglasses on just to protect their eyes from it. And then makeup would go absolutely mad with them because it would leave a white bridge on their nose just before the recording.
I love the hangover story myself.
Yeah, that's more interesting, I have to say.
It is, Paul Routen is saying, I'm at work. Oh, well, never mind, Paul. Good to see you. I'll catch up later. I'm loving those consolidated figures. Yeah, we're going to be coming to those soon. We've got Bedwyer's rating analysis coming up for you in the show as well. But yes, it's 50 years ago today since we lost our first Doctor, the late, great, legendary Mr. William Hartnell, one of Britain's best of the time. And as we're hopefully putting across here, what a catalogue of work. And as we're saying, I still cannot believe that thanks to these wonderful channels, including Talking Pictures now, it's another film with William Hartnell. Here's another thing with William Hartnell.
There's a new film every other day on that channel. Honestly, it's superb. It really is.
It's incredible, but it's so good that they are able to show as many as they can of these films with Mr. Hartnell in it, because it just gives us an insight into his work a bit more. Because all I've got, of course, is Doctor Who.
There's a couple of movies, you probably mentioned them already, but I'll just quickly cursory mention them. Double Confession with Peter Lorre's been on there. And he holds his own with Peter Lorre, which is wonderful.
Yeah, and it's a great film, that one. I really enjoyed that. The first time I saw that was that. I mean, I think I told you, Paul, I'd watched that. Was it last year? It must have been last year.
Yeah.
What a film! I was really engaged with that all the way. About that. What? Great film.
The World 10 Times Over is another film where he delivers another great character. And again, he's very comedian-like, that he just becomes that character in the film. And I think that was the last thing he did before he went into Doctor Who. And I think I'm right in saying that was actually his last film as well.
There's one that crops up. I can't remember the title of it, but he's in a film with Mr. Pastry, which makes me laugh, which is lovely. I can't remember what the film's called, but that's been on Talking Pictures TV as well. So I often go through Talking Pictures channel and do the recordings of them and catch up with them later, because they're on. They repeat them quite often, but he's made so many movies. There's lots to see, But Brighton Rock, someone mentioned earlier on, is a great movie too. Superb.
I love Brighton Rock. There's just something classical about Brighton Rock. Something very British. I love it.
It was his performance in The Sporting Life, which sort of seared onto Verity Lambert's memory, and it was that made her think of him for Doctor Who.
That's an amazing cast that film has. Honestly, the people in it are superb.
I love that story. Verity used to tell us that story at conventions. Do you remember? But years and years ago, in the wilderness years especially, she would say how she just adored William Hartnell, or Bill as she called him, in Sporting Life. And for some reason, when they were casting Doctor Who, she knew she wanted him because of the Sporting Life. And yet, apparently, the two characters are completely different. How she managed to spot that he could do the Doctor. What a gift Verity had to give us Hartnell.
Yeah, well, Hartnell in This Sporting Life was this very down at heel, seedy rugby talent coach with suppressed homosexual tendencies. And again, Hartnell just completely brought the character to life and was 101% convincing and believable in the role. And yet, that was what Verity Lambert saw and thought, he's the Doctor Who we're looking for.
Isn't that amazing?
It's quite a small part in that movie as well, and makes such an impression with so little scenes,
Well, that's an interesting point, because that you've made there. It shows you how good he was, because I didn't realize until fairly recently, within the last 10 years or so, that The Sporting Life wasn't all about him, as it were.
That's right. Yeah. Yes. More about Richard Harris.
You hear about it all the time. William Hartnell in The Sporting Life. He was so good in The Sporting Life, starring William Hartnell. And then he's in it for an itty time. It's amazing, isn't it? And he's the star of it, basically.
Yeah.
I love it. We've got Mosh. Nice to see you, Mosh, who's saying, hello, fellow Who fans. I have a very rare handwritten letter and an autograph from William Hartnell dated July 1965. Wow. Isn't that lovely? I'll be showing it on my YouTube channel, Professor Memorabilia. Well, how lovely for sharing that. Wow.
I remember seeing, did they not print? I remember, that's fantastic. I remember they printed Ian McLaughlin's letter, I think, in one of the Doctor Who magazines, and it was fabulous to see a fan writing to him. And I knew Ian, the late Ian McLaughlin, lovely man. God bless him.
You did. Yeah.
So in later years, Heather Hartnell confessed that the volume of fan mail he got was so huge while he was Doctor Who that she used to fake his autograph in replying to them.
So you may have Heather Hartnell's fake autograph instead.
Yes, because he said that there's no way he just could have kept, much as he would have wanted to, given a personal reply to every single one of them. He said, the demands on his time plus doing the show simultaneously meant he just couldn't. But he desperately didn't want to disappoint, as he said, any child who wrote to him and, thinking they were writing to Doctor Who. So Heather admitted that she used to fake his autograph and sending replies.
That's what you call a team.
Yeah,
I've got Heather's from Longley in '83. So
fantastic!
I can supply that and we can compare.
Yes,
can we get a handwriting expert on the show and see if we can compare? That'd be great. Yeah.
Yes, I've got a signature from Heather Hartnell as well, and I've looked at it against William Hartnell signatures, and I thought either she was a master forger or that's Heather Hartnell signing on his behalf.
Definitely a master forger.
I like this one. Welcome to Who's Views to Dr. Hunt. Nice to see you. He's great in Hell Drivers too, if you haven't mentioned it yet. It was mentioned a little bit before, but this is a new one that I'm learning about this evening. What's this one about?
It's basically about truck drivers taking loads back and forth from one location to the other. It doesn't sound like a very exciting film, but it's really gripping. Yeah. And you've got Patrick McGoohan, William Hartnell, Sean Connery, Sid James, Herbert Lom, Gordon Jackson, Alfie Bass. Everyone's in it.
What a cast!
Yeah.
What a cast! Oh, I've got to look that one up. There's another one to add to my notes, everybody. Here, look. I'm going to look that one up too. What a cast that one is. A little bit of Gordon Jackson as well. Yes, please. Yeah. I'll have a bit of that.
And Sid James is playing it fairly straight in this one as well, which he's a great straight actor, as we've all said before. Great stuff. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, Sid James was another workaholic, wasn't he? And Lee Smith is saying it was edited by Jerry Anderson.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Yeah.
Wow. John Mason saying Hell Drivers has some amazing model shots. And Stanley Baker too.
Oh, Stanley Baker as well, of course. Yeah. He's one of the leads in it, to be fair. Yeah.
There's a name. Stanley Baker. That's a name, isn't it? Goodness me, all these wonderful things, all these wonderful people. The thing is with some of them, I hate to say it, but they will be sort of forgotten. But William Hartnell is never going to be forgotten because of Doctor Who. And let's face it, Who viewers, Doctor Who is going to come and go. This reiteration will at some point finish. At some point, in some form, it will come back. But they'll all have to go back to 1963 to look at it.
I mean, I think it's great, and I'm delighted that Talking Pictures TV is celebrating William Hartnell this weekend. But
that's great news.
Why aren't the BBC?
Yeah.
Oh, because they, let's all look at the BBC like this.
Because we know,
we know why.
And I'm not reducing anybody else's input into the origins of Doctor Who, not least Verity Lambert and everybody else originally involved in the original cast. But it was William Hartnell who gave the BBC this eternal cash cow.
Yeah.
And it would actually be nice for them to turn around and say, thank you for that, Bill.
Yeah.
Even on BBC 4, the arts channel, isn't it, BBC 4?
Yeah.
They could have shown the Time Meddler again or something.
Yeah, because they can't show it if they tell, can they?
No. Something that's easy for them to do. That's 4 episodes. They could have done a Saturday night thing at 10 o'clock just to say we're honouring a British character actor who's whose 50-year anniversary of his passing,
and call it the first face of Doctor Who. I'd buy into that if they did that.
Yeah. Mosh is coming back with us saying, I have had the William Hartnell autograph and letter of praise twice, and they both said it was original. I've also got Heather Hartnell's autograph from Longleat as well. Oh, well, that's great.
We were just teasing, though, to be fair.
Yes. There's no way applying that you've got a fake there. No. Don't get me wrong.
Is it true, says Marie UK, that there are lots of missing episodes from Hartnell's time? Now, you mentioned this earlier, didn't you, George?
Yes. I mean, I'm the eternal glass half full man, and I like to think lots of his episodes survive rather than lots are missing.
Me too.
As we know, they survive because the series was so popular it sold around the world, and 16mm sales prints were made, and it's those prints that survive.
And of course, Marco Polo's iTunes ready as well, isn't it?
Well, I always live in hope that there's more out there and more gaps will be filled at some point. One thing I always think about was we mentioned the pilot episode of An Unearthly Child earlier on. Now, surely if there's one episode that should not exist, it's the pilot episode of Unearthly Child. It never made it to TV. It never sold abroad, and yet we've got it.
Yeah. And if that exists, anything's possible, isn't it? That's the thing.
So if that one can survive.
Yeah.
I think you should never ever give up hope. Never ever give up hope. Regardless what other people might say elsewhere, I don't think you should ever give up hope.
Well, look at when Web of Fear and In the World turned up. That was amazing. And we'll want a
Came
fight
out
like
of
that
nowhere,
with for
didn't it?
Hartnell.
Yes.
That'd be superb.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
All of
And
Marco
those things,
Polo.
remember
how-
in the 90s, those two stories were the ones, oh yeah, we're never going to see them again. Do you remember?
Yes.
Everybody wrote those off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything's
Well,
possible. Never say die. That's it. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
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 How surprised were we all when another episode of the Dalek Master Plan turned up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
a cracking episode as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody, for your comments in the chat here. Mosh saying, don't forget William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton both starred together in a film in 1947 called Escape, starring Rex Harrison. We mentioned that a little bit earlier.
They did an episode of a TV show together as well, didn't they? Was it No Hiding Place or something like that? They did together,
Well,
something
really?
like that. Yeah.
And I heard a story that at one point Patrick Troughton actually was William Hartnell's understudy for, I don't know what stage show it was, but apparently there's evidence to prove that Troughton understudied Hartnell at one time.
That's amazing, isn't it? Well, that would explain why Hartnell was very confident in handing over to Troughton when he didn't want to go as much, but knew he had to.
Is that story true or a legend that the only man that can take over from me is Patrick Troughton? I mean, I'd love to believe that, but is it really true?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Personally,
it's
I
a
don't
lovely
think
story,
so.
isn't it? Though.
I mean, I don't think we know. We can say he wouldn't have had any say in who was taking over from him. He would have just been told, "You're going, and Troughton's coming in."
Yeah,
wouldn't he? Let's face it.
Again, in interviews, Heather Hartnell did say that Patrick Troughton was an actor that William Hartnell very much admired.
That's nice.
That's lovely, yeah.
And Domgo is saying to us, we have to thank Hartnell for taking the role so seriously and delivering so many great performances.
Yeah.
And of course, the biggest one for all of us was the first Doctor, the Gaffer, the original, we do say on this channel.
Except no substitutes. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So for William Hartnell, who we lost 50 years ago today, the 23rd of April, 1975. Never forgotten. And always Hartnell first.
Yeah.
God bless you, Billy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're watching Who's Views. It's headlines. It's Wednesday, the 23rd of April, 2025. How are you all? It's great to see you. And let's get back into your headlines, because have you heard? You probably have if you're regular on this channel. Ncuti Gatwa's second series as apparently the alleged Doctor Who with Russell T. Davies, Disney Plus, exactly, all this sort of stuff. I know, to go from Hartnell to Gatwa is just totally illogical.
In the same sentence is terrible, yeah.
Yes, exactly. But yes, the first two episodes of this 2025 version of Doctor Who have been an astronomical failure. And the one person that knows all about that, of course, is Bedweer with his ratings analysis here on Who's Views. Now, unfortunately, Bedweer can't be with us live tonight, but he has sent us a video. So if you are all ready, let's get into it now. Let's hand over to the one and only Bedweer.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry I can't be with you this evening, but I didn't want you guys to miss out on what has been an eventful week in Doctor Who ratings news, because not only have we now had the 7-day number for the Robot Revolution, we've also got the overnight figure for Lux, episode 2. And yeah, there's plenty to talk about with that. So let's start off with the first slide and Lux, which achieved, I guess is the word, an overnight figure of 1.58 million. There's no getting around it. It is the lowest number, viewing figures, bums on seats, whatever you want to call it. It is the fewest people to watch a episode of Doctor Who live on broadcast ever. So the 1.58 million is obviously down nearly 500,000. You might notice at number 4 in this chart, we have the Robot Revolution. That actually went up slightly. So when they recalculated the numbers, we've actually been given an updated number of 2.05 million. So they must have found an extra 50,000 viewers who watched it live. But that does accentuate the drop-off, unfortunately. So we now have a drop of 470,000 viewers, which is 23% down from last week, quite a sharp drop. And in fact, that drop is sharper than anything from the previous series. So series 14, the worst drop off between episodes was around 19%. So a 23% drop is quite significant. Yeah, not great numbers, and it's difficult to argue anything to the contrary. We'll move on to the next slide, though. And this is our cumulative line graph of the Ncuti Gatwa era. And you can see how we have Lux, really low. Genuinely didn't think it would drop as low as that. I thought it would drop because these things normally do. But for such a steep drop, really caught a lot of us by surprise. So 1.58 million overnight figure for Lux. Yeah, not great at all. We also have the +7 number for the Robot Revolution now, but we'll come back to that in a moment. If we move on to the next slide, the overnight share. We've discussed this, so we want to put more context than just the raw number of 1.58 million. It could have been that the 1.58 was reflective of fewer people watching television on Easter Saturday. However, that's not the case. We have quite, again, a steep drop of 4% from an overall audience share, 17.4% last week to 13.4%. So that 4% drop, is again quite significant when you're working with a low number to start with. Again, just to reiterate, this is of all the people with their televisions on whilst Doctor Who is being broadcast, this is the percentage of how many people are actually tuning into BBC One and watching Doctor Who. So we can see that general trend is downwards. And last week's episode of Headlines, we showed an example of Gladiators and how that fairly consistently stayed around the 25% audience share mark, even though the Series 2 numbers were down. Doctor Who's going in the other way, and it's the trend is downwards. It's not consistently around any particular marker at this point. It is dropping viewers quite rapidly. Okay, we'll go on to the next slide. And this is something you might be familiar with if you were a viewer of the channel last year. And we had our sort of cumulative bar chart. So we've got our blue overnight rating, and now we can add our green overnight to +7. So to get to 3.57 million, which is what the Robot Revolution achieved, that is an increase of 1.52 million viewers from the overnight. Whilst that is a 74% increase, which is great, it still highlights that the majority of that total is made up of the overnight number. So once again, for all those who say, oh, the overnight number doesn't matter, yeah, it makes up more than 50% of your +7 figure. The 1.52 million increase is fairly consistent. So throughout Series 14, the additional growth, shall we say, from overnight to +7 was relatively consistent, and on average it was about 1.44 million extra viewers that were being added overnight to +7. So it's slightly above that. Unfortunately, when we look at Lux, it's going to need to add a similar amount of viewers, and yeah, if that increase is going to be 74%, it's might be struggling to get above 3 million, which would be quite a shock to see an episode of Doctor Who over 7 days not get above 3 million. So Battlefield Part 1 is looking like it's going to be knocked off that top spot. Okay, if we move on to another slide, this is where our +7 ranks. So this is just all the episodes from 2005 onwards. I mentioned Battlefield Part 1. So some people argue that, we shouldn't take the classic series into account, or the only fair way of doing that is to compare the +7s to the overnights that the classic series had, because there was no catch-up services and things like that. But we'll come to that if and when we drop under 3.1 million. However, Robot Revolution over 7 days, puts it 5th in the lowest. So it's exceeded Dot and Bubble, Legend of Ruby Sunday, and Rogue from last year. But it's still not as high as the 4.01 million that Space Babies, the opener for last year, got. So, yeah. Not brilliant, but not disastrous. We'll see what happens with Lux. Moving on to the next slide that we've got. So this is just to reiterate the point that the overnight figure so far for the Robot Revolution is making up 57% of that 7-day rating. So once again, the overnight figure is crucial to our 7-day rating, and we'll see how much growth we get to plus 28 days. But at this stage, yeah, the majority of the audience over 7 days comes from those who sat down and watched it live on Saturday night. And just to round off, I think our final slide is the series openers. So again, last week we talked about the comparisons between series openers that have come and gone since 2005. And there's no denying that apart from that spike for The Woman Who Fell to Earth, Jodie Whittaker's first episode, and that curiosity factor, the trend ever since has been downward. And we're now not just the lowest overnight figure, we're at the lowest +7 figure for a series opener, and quite comfortably so, unfortunately. There we go. So that was a brief roundup of all the stats and numbers that we've had so far. I will add that I've seen it reported that the pre-transmission number for the Robot Revolution was a very healthy 910,000 viewers. That is a huge jump compared to the high of 297,000 that we're watching The Legend of Ruby Sunday, which is the high point of Series 14. But unfortunately, that does mean that about 60% of the +7 increase comes from pre-transmission viewers. So depending on what those 910,000 viewers made of it, we'll see if they are watching Lux in advance and the following episodes that are still to come. So that's going to be interesting to track what had been a very positive trend upwards as people got used to watching Doctor Who in advance of transmission. But we'll see if it can maintain that upward trajectory, or whether, like the main ratings overall, it's going to continue downwards. We shall see. See you next week. Enjoy the rest of headlines.
Well, thanks, Bedweer. Wow. And we've got lots of people in the chat with us. Jess has joined us from Australia saying, thank you, Bedweer. Absolutely. Thanks, mate. And Dalekai, thank you, Bedweer, for cheering me up. Domgo wants to know, what's happening here? Are the sycophants leaving too? And Stephen Braddock saying, I saw one YouTuber who said the ratings didn't count multiple views of fans who could watch it as many times as they want.
Yeah, I know who that was. Yeah.
One thing that's I don't know if any of you chaps can verify this or not. Am I right in thinking that to count as a view on iPlayer, you only have to watch 2 or 3 minutes of a program? You don't have to watch.
And frankly, George, that's enough.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's true.
So an episode of Doctor Who is 45 minutes. So if I were deranged enough to watch one of the episodes,
thanks, George.
I watched it in 9 5-minute chunks.
Yes.
Would that count as 9 views?
Yes.
Possibly, yeah.
So don't do that.
Apparently so. Apparently so. That's how I understand it. Bedouin might correct me next week, but that's how I understand it. Yeah.
I think in the same way that if you just watched the pre-title sequence and thought this is a load of horse toss and turned it off, it would still count that you watched the whole thing.
It's not
the pre-title bit was the best bit of Lux, to be honest, until the companion and the Doctor turned up, So
yeah. We've got a hell of a lot of comments here from you on the chat. Thank you so much. Domgo, it's going to drop below the TV screen at this race. Mark Greaves is saying the only thing dropping faster is a lemming. Lux won't get 3 million on the 7-day figures this far. So it's very unlikely with that such a low overnight. And as we're saying here, as Bedweer has proved, the overnights are important because they contribute to the final 7-day figures. Yeah. Julianne is saying to us here, Leeds put more goals past us than Gatwick ever has.
I'm very sorry, Julianne. I'm very sorry, Julianne. I really am. I really am.
the other thing is, as Bedware pointed out, that it's no matter what the overnight viewing figure is, it seems to be a fairly consistent 1.5 million on the 7-day catch-up.
Each episode, George.
Yeah, they can't deny it's not going down, can they? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Well, as you can see there on the slides, each episode is going down every week. Goodness knows what's going to happen with The Well, which is on this Saturday.
But if 1.5 million are regularly tuning in to watch it, say, multiple times or whatever, it's getting 1.5 million hits in that first 7 days, that would indicate that there's a core of people who are going to it, and it's not attracting other people.
It's not the public. We've been saying that on this show for over a year. It's not the general public. This thing goes out at 8 o'clock in the morning on iPlayer. You can guarantee that the hardcore lovers of this version of Doctor Who, you know, with their personal pronouns, are all tuning in at 8 a.m. And then by 12, they would have watched it a couple of times. Then by 3, they've watched it a couple of times. And then they'll watch it on BBC One. And then they'll go back and watch, because it's only episode 2. They're craving the fix. But it's not the public, it's them. And you can't prove to me, and you can't tell me it's not, because they can't prove it's the general public watching it, because it's the iPlayer. And it's not a streaming service as such. They're calling it now, George, they're calling the iPlayer over the last few weeks a streaming service. Okay. It's not really.
The one thing that struck me as Bedware was going through his slides on the first one, where 14-point-something% of the television viewing public on Saturday night watched the last episode of Doctor Who. And I'm probably not comparing apples with apples here, but it instantly came into my mind that during Tom's time, 1 in 5, sometimes 1 in 4 people of the entire population of the country, not just people watching TV, but the entire population of the country watched Doctor Who.
Yeah. So those days are long gone. I mean, we're not having, we just don't have the British public watching it now. I mean, to get an overnight rating that it's got over the last 2 weeks, let's see where The Well goes. But I've got this strange feeling it'll be in The Well. Mosh is saying to us, it's time to be honest. I didn't watch Doctor Who on Saturday. I watched the snooker instead. Probably more exciting. And then what I stayed a few days later on BBC iPlayer with my 7-year-old daughter who thought it was boring. 7. There's the key. This is the audience. RTD is saying, love this thing. And I haven't met anyone under the age of 11 that is interested. And a lot of my friends have kids. So I asked them, do you watch Doctor Who? Some of them don't even know. And it's heartbreaking. Some of them don't even know what I'm talking about. But it's the most bestest, goodest episodes ever.
Since the last one.
Yes. And until the next one.
Dalek Eye and the Shills are still pretending there is nothing to see. Marie UK didn't know it would drop that low, but am I surprised? No. Duncan Evans, I don't get what the Shills keep insisting about iPlayer scores being important. And Jess saying to us, Space Babies only got those figures first in series. It's gone down all the way. Look at that, says Saint 194. In all new Who since 2005, which are the all-time lowest viewed episodes in their first 7 days, I see something. And what you could see is what SG is saying. The show's dead. Yeah, it pretty much is. And sinking to new depths, says Mike Disney. See what you did there, because the next episode is called The Well. See what you did there, mate.
I know we're talking about it on Friday, but The Well actually looks, it's got a lot of promise to be quite scary, but I'm not holding my breath. Okay.
The problem with The Well, as we will come back to when we're talking about Friday, is there's no publicity. And the reason is annoyingly pretentious rubbish. Sorry, I nearly said something I shouldn't do there. Because hello to John Del Arrows. Nice to see you. Hashtag RIP Doctor Who indeed. Yeah, that's now canon, everybody. It was in the show. It's therefore canon. But no, there's no publicity for The Well, bar the usual 5 or 6 photographs. And we're going to talk about that in another show. Because they want to keep it a surprise. You cannot keep the show a surprise when you've got ratings this low. I would have backtracked on all the pretentious nonsense and thrown everything out to the TV magazines and the BBC and whoever else wanted to listen and said, this is what's happening, to try and at least get some interest in the next episode. And they're not bothering because they want to keep it all secret and surprise us.
But do you think, one of the reasons why Genesis of the Daleks got 11 million viewers was because it was called Genesis of the Daleks?
Probably.
That may have helped.
This show won't even have the Daleks in it because they're problematic, George.
I mean, ditto Revenge of the Cybermen.
Well, that's the point. They don't have any decent Doctor Who titles, do they? They're just all really dull. That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah.
They're saying
pretentious, Ian.
Absolutely, but they're saying that this is going to be tense or whatever, or scary. But we know they will not go there. We know they will not go there. So whatever they suggest, they will pull back from it, because anything that scares people is going to be seen as problematic, failing completely to understand that what scared people was one of the things that made it great when it was great.
Yeah.
And they won't do it. We know they won't. So it's going to be like certain people in governments. They'll promise one thing and deliver something totally different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like last week's episode. Yeah.
Well, as I've said several times since we've been on air, I've avoided.
Can we just clarify? To all of you watching? George is not watching the new series of Doctor Who. He wants nothing
and he keeps rubbing it in that he's not watching it. That's not fair.
Yes, one to me. But I seem to recall that when the last series started, the emphasis was on, this is all very much unicorns and rainbows, and now they're saying, we're going to do an episode that's going to out horror the brain of Morbius.
No, it's all this. And the problem is as well, a minority of the fans who are still watching, and we are nearly at the exact number that are watching it, to be quite honest, outside the people like us who are reviewers. It's less than 1 million, let's face it, of actual people who love this show and are diehard versions of this show, are fans of it. They love all this nonsense. But we always say, George, on our review shows, which are every Sunday, live at 8 here on Who's Views, they came back with this new version, this reboot from RTD2, and he kept saying, you don't need to know anything about the previous 60 years of you bloody well do, because it's mentioned throughout with Sutek last year. We've got a big reveal, which is supposed to be, spoiler alert here, not that any of us care, the Rani, right? So that's coming out here.
Well,
We've
there's
got
a big list
villain
of
apparently this week.
spoiler characters, isn't there? There's Rani, Omega, whoever they can be bothered writing about.
I know, whoever, anything desperate. It's not Big Buff Ghost, who used to be the ex-Small Swellcoat and loves putting those things there so that I have to say it, says for the whole soft reboot thing with new numbering, they're not doing too well, eh? Dependence on the 60th specials, Sutek, Mel, who's coming back as well in the next week, I think. Now whole thing which shows fans in looks, not explaining the bi-regeneration at all. I know it's nonsense, Big Buff, isn't it? Absolute nonsense. And our John's with us saying the overnight is important because the iPlayer figures are not reliable as they include multiple views and those who watch a couple of minutes and switch off. You're right, but also as Bedouin has proven in the figures, the bulk of the overnight goes towards the 7-day consolidated.
Mm-hmm.
Very important.
Yes. Another thing that would be interesting to see is, I know not only can you get the overnight figures for any given program on the BBC, you can also get that program broken down into 5-minute chunks of how many viewers there were for that 5 minutes of the program. And I think it would be interesting to see last week's episode, the 1.58 million. Was that a constant line through the entire episode from the opening titles to the closing titles? Or did it dip down as the program was broadcast?
There are some figures out there, but we're looking into how reliable they can be, where there are estimates of when people are tuning out. So we're looking into that.
Yes, the technical term is tune out time.
Well, we can tell it's actually quite quickly, depending when Britain's Got Talent starts, because it's up now against Britain's Got Talent. The next couple of weeks, it's a direct opposition.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the program before Doctor Who was on BBC One, and as the opening title starts, and it starts with 1.58 million people watch the first couple of minutes and just go, "Good God, no," and turn off or change channel.
Yeah,
but because there was 1.58 million at one point in the program, is that the figure that's taken?
Stephen Braddock is saying to us, I know no one who's watching Doctor Who at all now. One friend did, and it sent her to sleep from boredom. I was nearly asleep myself on this one, and that hasn't happened since a couple of episodes with Matt Smith, I have to be honest. And then there was that one with Peter Capaldi, and all I remember about it was Trafalgar Square and a lot of plants.
Yeah,
that's all I remember.
Oh God,
Just to back up what Stephen's just said, friends of mine who not ardent Doctor Who fans, but watched it, you know, and enjoyed it like a lot of the public did during the David Tennant run with Catherine Tate and all that sort of stuff. In last year's series, they said to me one time when I saw them, have you seen anything of the new Doctor Who? And I said, no, I made the conscious decision not to watch it because I just get very, very angry with it. I know I will.
Yeah.
And they said to me, good call. We watched 10 minutes of one episode, and the words they used, and I quote them here, it was puerile.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so, isn't it? That's so. Ow. Lee Smith saying to us, the cartoon Mr. Ring-a-Dong-Ding-Ding was copied from the 1940s. It's better than looks. John Roberts, why should the public watch it when we as fans don't? And John de Arrows is actually saying, I actually like looks. Well, good for you. There are people that did. But, you know, my argument was, as we said on our review on Sunday, because a lot of people were saying in the context, not from our reviews, but in the context of what we've seen on social media, it was the best of the Gatwick era so far. And I came along and John said, well, that wouldn't be difficult, would it?
Well, I was going to say,
low bar, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say the words low bar instantly sprang to mind there.
Yeah. But what we're going to be looking, what I was saying, that it was the Devil's Board again. It was the same sort of
reshuffled. Yeah.
Lily Shambles is asking, at Whose Views, what is your channel going to be about when it dies? I can guarantee you, Lily Shambles, that if and when Doctor Who comes off the air, there will be a lot to talk about, because we all lived, every one of us on this channel, on the show right now, lived through 15 years of Doctor Who not being on the air. And we can do it again, because there was always things to talk about between 1989 and then 1996 and then 1996 to 2005. I can assure you this channel's going to be fine. Got lots of plans. And we've also got our spin-off shows as well.
I was going to say, we'll get 2 years out of the death of Doctor Who quite easily, I'd imagine.
Oh, definitely. And then the rebirth of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And then the reviews. And don't forget, everybody, because we have a Sea Devil thing still to come. 5 episodes of that still due, and I reckon it'll be I think it's going to be in the summer when they can bury it.
Yeah.
We will also get eventually, probably not in year 1 or 2, but we will also get people starting to talk. You know.
Oh, and I can't wait.
We'll start to talk, and then it'll all come out, and
yes,
that will be absolute gold. Can't wait.
Exactly. Yeah, and they've all got offers to come onto this show and talk to us. Fingers crossed. I mean, nice stories going along there, I think. The ratings are the scariest thing the Doctor has ever seen in the next episode, The Terrified Monk. Digby, hello Digby. Strawbridge, I thought that RTD wanted the 15 to 35-year-olds, which is ridiculous for a family adventure program that was made for people 5 to 95.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of these things you can see, you know, the wind change with RTD from what he says from one minute to the other. And because we catalogue it all on headlines, you can see just how ridiculous a lot of the stuff he says is. Because one minute they're talking about, oh, the children are important. We've got to get to the kids for various reasons, I might add. We've got to get to the kids. And then, yes, 15 to 35 is important. And then that's it. But nobody of these age groups, these demographics, as they call them, are there, because the actual DEI and the way they've produced the series has put people off. And the fact, of course, they said to the fans, go touch grass, you're not wanted, it's not for you anymore over the last 7 years, 8 years, whatever it's going to be. And fans are important to a show because we're the ones that introduce people to the show. So if we're not watching, we're not going to bring the Notwees to the show anymore either, are we? So what a stupid way they've been running. Doctor Who as a business has no real proper business plan. Absolute nonsense. And Cody W1 is saying normies, the Notwee, don't remember Midnight being the David Tennant episode, which is it's rumored is that this Saturday's The Well is a sequel to.
I've heard it maybe a sequel to Waters of Mars as well, so one or the other.
I'm so thrilled and excited about it.
I'm very excited too. But the show's been well and truly rejected by the public and by fans, so it's dead. It's dead. Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see where it goes for the overnights this week, isn't it? You know, and keep an eye on our Facebook post. Keep an eye on the posts on this channel, because as soon as the score comes in, we put it out on our Instagram. We put it out on the Facebook. We put it out on this channel on the post section on this channel. PTA, thank you for your super chat. RTG has said there will be a sequel episode, Midnight. Yeah, We're going to be talking more about that on Friday as well, everybody. Great to see what you're all saying about Bedouia's analysis tonight. Will Doctor Who magazine survive? Says Lee Smith. No.
Sadly.
Not a chance.
No. The only reason it survived, and I don't know what you guys think about what I'm going to say here, but the only reason it survived the 15 years off with a break for a rebirth, a very small rebirth in '96, was because we were still buying it.
Yeah.
You know, fans were still there, and they did some incredible features, comic strips, interviews, wonderful stuff through those 15 years, a lot of which informed all the people that came back with the show. Yeah. You can see some of the stuff we discussed in Doctor Who magazine in those 15 years actually in from 2005 in the show. There is not enough of the fan base now to support Doctor Who magazine when the show comes off the air, because it's just non-existent. So no, it won't survive. It'll be gone. If the show comes off air this year and doesn't come back immediately within a 2 or 3 year period, that's them done. That's them gone within 2 years, I reckon. I don't know what you guys think of that.
No, I totally agree. I think it will be gone. I don't think it'll be 2 or 3 years. I think it'll be gone within the first year. There'll be nothing to take it. I mean, the magazine has been angling itself at the preferred demographic now, but it's been angling itself at that for quite a few years. You saw it with Time Team and everything else, with Crystal Meth coming on it and everything else, and it was all about cosplaying and then all the other kind of like seedy side of things. They chose their demographic, and again, like the series subsequently, they cut people out. But the original time that it was off, they also did fantastic previews and reviews of the original novels that were coming out at the time. Yeah. And they were really good. I really enjoyed those. I did. But the comic strips and everything, in some respects, it was more alive then than when the series came back.
Oh, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. You know, it was totally brilliant, the magazine, and it brought us together as fans. And do you remember you would go to conventions and stuff, which were much more homespun and friendly and family orientated,
and cheaper.
Yeah. And the actors didn't care. They would say anything, and you became part of that family, you know, because they were knocking around with you. They were in the bar with you. You'd have breakfast with them. You'd have lunch while you were sitting together. There was no celebrity stuff like there is now. But you would take your Doctor Who magazine, and they quite happily scribble on it with their autograph for nothing. Do you remember?
Yeah.
The amount of times Colin Baker has signed various things for me in the past. Oh, that's a nice picture. Oh, I don't like that picture. You know, or whatever. But now when you've got the derangement like the series as well, where Doctor Who magazine, Lee, is promoting TQ Pride as it is today and pushing all this fantasy, which has just been upturned by the Supreme Court here in the UK. Well, they get what they deserve, quite frankly, like the show. And we did have gay editors back in the 90s. We had several of them.
Yeah.
And they never dreamt about pushing a Pride edition of the show. Of the magazine, rather. They never did. Hello, Rose Kirby. Good to see you. I was surprised over content on Saturday night when I've seen it. I was transported back to the 70s. The one thing that's brought it was the fans saying "R.I.P. Doctor Who." You didn't miss much.
I think if Doctor Who magazine is banking on a quick return to help secure its long-term future, I do think it's backing a loser. That, in my view, that. For not just fandom, but the public at large, we said Doctor Who is now tainted itself so badly that it does need a long time away. Because I think if you bought it back now and you have the 2025 equivalent of Philip Hinchcliffe as producer, if you had today's equivalent of Tom Baker and Elizabeth Sladen to star in it, if you had today's equivalent of David Maloney or any of the other great Doctor Who directors behind the camera, it would still fail because it is so tainted by its own failure at the moment.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
totally. We've been saying something similar to the fact as well, George, is that when you look at this new version of Doctor Who from 2005 to the present day, it has more baggage to it than the original 26-year run.
Yeah.
So it's going to take somebody extremely strong and extremely brave to take this thing on now, to look at what's been its immediate predecessors, to go, we've got to veto some of this, because you can't possibly take that into a reboot. You just can't. But you can. I reckon somebody would go, let's base it on the original 26 years, because that was baggage free. You know, because it's incredible what they've done to this new. All these other Doctors and Timeless Children and Gallifrey. Oh, go away! It's giving me a headache. We're going to need a bigger field of grass. Says Thor behind.
We are indeed, yeah.
And can I just say to Rose as well, Rose, I just don't know if to watch The Well or wait. What's the season finale? Is it at the cinema? No, it's not. It's not at the cinema because who's going to go? So at the moment, no, they haven't said. They would say by now if it was going to be at the cinema. I don't think it's going to be there, Rose. The season finale, can't remember what it's called now. What's it called? The
Reality War.
Reality War. The Reality War. So,
man, that sounds so exciting, doesn't it?
And this is a great point from the Chorus Sci-Fi and Fantasy. I always loved the BBC's Robin Hood in 2006 series, but it was cancelled in 2009 due to poor ratings of 3.2 million. Yet Doctor Who has 1.55 million, and it's still on. How's that fair? Well, can I just add to you as well? Can I just add to that as well, Chorus Sci-Fi Fantasy? I quite liked Atlantis because the lead character kept getting his top off every week, and I quite liked Atlantis. I thought it was quite fun, but that was axed after its second series for poor ratings as well, which were very similar to Robin Hood's. Because you remember Atlantis replaced Merlin. It was the same production team.
Yeah.
Merlin did quite well, came to a natural end. They brought Atlantis, and then it was gone. So how is it fair? Because Doctor Who is Doctor Who, and it's not necessarily fair, but it's Doctor Who.
Bring back Primeval. That's what I say.
Oh no! But Doctor Who is and can be and has been, all the past tenses, future tense, whatever, a flagship BBC show. It's just, unfortunately, yet again, had the wrong people driving it.
Yeah.
Can I just say, given, as you just mentioned, JT, what happened in the Supreme Court last week, and how public opinion and public mindset is changing for the better at a pace at the moment, do you not think there's an irony in calling the season finale the Reality War?
Yo, totally. And we're going to love it when we get to that episode, because we're already starting to get a little bit sort of but we will get there. I mean, we're going to come up to something you won't believe in a second, George, as we go after some of these more chats. Mark Milford, good to see you, mate. Entertainment isn't supposed to lecture. It's supposed to resonate, to move people, to mean something because of the story, not in spite of it. Well said. And David Gulvin's with us again, saying, what's wrong with children's family TV scaring children? We all grew up well-rounded people. I remember the changes. Oh, my God, yeah, me too. Even the theme was terrifying. It was, wasn't it? It was like, oh, it's in my head now as well, and I won't sleep tonight. Brilliant show, The Changes. Remember, guys, The Changes?
Yeah.
Gave you those shivers, didn't it? Remember those shivers you used to get to the back of your neck and down your spine when Grandstand was finishing and you knew Doctor Who was coming?
Hair standing on end.
The Changes was like that with me as well. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? Great show. Can you get it on DVD?
I think you probably can. Yeah, I'm sure you can. Yeah. It's
Okay.
probably released by... I forgot the name of the company that used to release all the ITV stuff. Network, yeah. It's probably one of their releases. Yeah.
Let's just say hello to Lex Kane, who says he can't join us at the moment because he's on holiday in the lakes with Luke, who's his nephew, and family. Well, hope you're having a lovely time. Luke is a very intelligent young man, one of our youngest Who's Views watchers, and loves season 7 starring John Pertwee.
Good.
Clearly a young man that will go far.
Yeah. I think he's about 12, isn't he? Isn't that right? Luke is about 12, I think. 11, something like that. I probably aged him up a bit, but he's a very intelligent young man. Isn't that great?
Scrubbed up nicely and never looked better than the original broadcast, obviously, on the recent Box Ray release.
That's it.
Yeah.
Jess is with us saying, looks had potential, but again, wasted. Lousy writing, poorly contrived. It's what we were saying, Jess, if you didn't see our looks review on Sunday. I personally believe RTD can have some nice ideas for Doctor Who. Unfortunately, he has about 4,000 million, and then he tries to put 12 in each particular bloody episode he's writing, where actually 2 would do. Focus on the 2. And I genuinely believe he hasn't got a script editor worth weight in salt.
Yeah.
He needs somebody that's going to say no to him every now and then. Lots of you in the chat with us this evening. Thank you. Mark Postgate is with us as well. I'm not saying that word because I can't, because my teeth stick out a bit. I like the first 20 minutes of looks, and then it turned into nonsense, says Mark Postgate.
Yeah.
That's the pre-title thing we all agreed was quite good, wasn't it? The setup.
Yeah.
I'm over those pre-title things now. What about you lot, Who's Views? I can't be done with them.
They take too long to get into the action, don't they? It's like, oh, here are the titles. Oh, here they are. It's like, why did they bother bringing the titles in at all? It takes so long for them to get into the show.
Exactly. I can't be done with them now. It worked for the first 3 or 4 years for me, but now I'm done with it. And I know that was RTD's way of saying, "Oh, here's a cliffhanger because you're not going to get as many." But I'm done with it. Just something different, please. And Duncan Evans is saying to us, we have the 30th anniversary of the McGann TV movie next year to talk about. Yeah. Well, you never know what's coming up next year, do we? We're going to get through all this first. And I wonder, says Mark A. Wright, how many of Shooty's Hollywood meetings have been cancelled in the wake of his undeniable unpopularity? It's a shame, really, that we're never going to know if he was going to be any good if RTD hadn't pushed this agenda on him. I don't know.
Is he not signing on at this moment? Is he signing on, Shooty? He's on the dole, is he?
No, he's doing that.
Oh, so he is.
Shakespeare thing, isn't he? He's doing the Royal Shakespeare Company with the fella from where is he from? Oh, Discovery of Witches.
Where he's playing Marlowe.
Yeah.
Marlowe, that well-known Rwandan.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's all right one way, but it's not the other one.
Scottish Rwandan.
Scottish Rwandan. Yes, you've got to add the Scottish bit in. Yeah, because
there's nothing wrong with being Scottish.
Would have been happy otherwise. Yeah.
I don't know what.
Sorry, Graffotta's saying to us, New Who was doing the Doctor, TARDIS, time travel, Daleks, regen gradually over the first season. You got all the context right there. Now they're doing a new jumping on point with all these loose ends. Loose ends is a nice way of putting it. It's a confusing plot things that just left. Why did the David Tennant Doctor regenerate from the Jodie Whittaker Doctor into his outfit? Never explained. Why was the bioregeneration there? Never explained. Why did he have stored up bioregeneration energy in the last episode? Not that we care, but it's letting your audience down.
Yeah.
Go on, Ian.
No, I was just going to say we don't know what Gatwa's personal interpretation of the character would have been, but
no, we don't.
From his comments like touch grass and everything else that he's been doing, he does come across as a bit of a prat who doesn't really have the ability to think much himself because of his eyes always darting off screen for a line, what do I say? And based on that, I still don't think he would have probably been very good.
Yeah, part of me is very interested because I'm still hearing people, I was saying on Sunday, wasn't I? I'm hearing people saying he's actually quite a good actor. But I can't say that because I only know him for Eric. And all I see in Doctor Who is Eric in space from Sex Education. I'm not interested enough to go and spend 80, 90 pounds on a show he's in for a ticket to see if he's a good actor. I'm not interested because he's put me off. His politics have put me off. His personal opinion is the way he talks has put me off. But when he says certain things like, I saw my doctor wearing this and I wanted him doing that, and then RTD comes along and says, no, you're doing this, it makes me wonder. Nice comment here from Mosh. Whose Views, just to let you know, I had to subscribe to your channel twice because the Tube of Who keeps subscribing me for some reason. And thank you for reading my comments. Keep up the good work. Well, we will do our best, and you're very welcome. Yeah, if you have subscribed to the channel, please do make sure you still subscribe because as we've just been heard in there, I do get emails from some of you to say we've been unsubscribed. The algorithms are crazy, aren't they, Paul?
Yeah, they certainly are. Yeah.
We've got Steve Henley saying the comic strips during the wilderness years were awesome. Some of them were amazing.
Yeah.
Some of them were utterly amazing. I like that bit as well, where they went through the previous Doctors when they got those. When they went that through phase. Was it Gary Russell went through that phase of previous Doctors?
Oh, they did different Doctors who weren't current. You mean?
Yeah. When it wasn't just Sylve. Yeah, it was quite nice that. Jess is saying Doctor Who will survive, but the fans and what they think, the genuine Whovian fans, will take priority. Talking of fans, now this is where you're going to have to really hold disbelief here now, George, because of course in Lux, this happened. Yeah,
I can see why you're quiet. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. Yeah.
That's the correct response, George. Yes, this is true. This actually happened. This thing called Lux. Mark Greaves, thank you for your super chat. Nicola Goughlin said she wouldn't touch a role in the new Harry Potter series. I guess it's because Hagrid has already been cast. You are very naughty. You are very naughty, and you might think that, but we couldn't possibly comment. But I'm going to.
Sorry,
so
Nicola,
anyway.
Can I just say, so Nicola Coughlan has got the arrogance to think that she would be offered a part that she could turn down in the new Harry Potter series.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, how? What's the word I'm looking for?
Well, it is arrogant, isn't it? It is arrogant. Yeah. It's exactly that. Presumptuous.
Yeah. Nicola Coughlan. I mean, I used to like her. I've gone off her this week. I really have gone off her this week. I've got no time for her at all. But isn't it interesting how all the TQ cult fanatics have suddenly found themselves on screen in Doctor Who as well as working behind the screen? Yeah. But let's go through this as well, because George, this actually happened in Lux, the episode on Saturday. The fourth wall was broken.
You're telling me this is part of the episode that featured Doctor Who anoraks?
Yeah. The Doctor and what's her name?
Resting bitch face.
Yeah, that's Ms. Yes, climbed out of a television set and met their fans. Yes, we were shocked as well, weren't we, everybody? But this was around. This was from the paper at the weekend, from the 19th of April in the Mirror. Doctor Who takes a swipe at annoying fans and ex-boss Stephen Moffat. Doctor Who has broken the fourth wall with tonight's, Saturday's episode, which sees the Doctor and Belinda meet three annoying fans of the BBC show during their latest adventure. Doctor Who lampooned its fans in its latest episode, which sees the Doctor and Belinda Chandra realise they're in a TV show as they meet fans of the BBC science fiction series. In the episode written by RTD, the Doctor and Belinda must defeat animated villain Mr. Wrong-a-Ding-Ding-Dong-Ding before he continues to terrify 1952's Miami. In one particular scene, Lux traps the Doctor and Belinda in a film where they become two-dimensional animated characters, and much better they were for it. While they learn to become three-dimensional, they crawl out of a TV screen to find three Doctor Who fans, Hassan, Lizzie, and Robin, with a Y, who are beyond excited to meet their heroes in real life. I knew this would happen because it leaked online. Hashtag RIP Doctor Who, Robin tells them. The Doctor then asks them what's their favourite episode is, to which they say Blink, the critically acclaimed 2007 episode written by Stephen Moffat. An incredulous Doctor says, not the one with the goblins. I met the Beatles. Not the one where I'm standing on a landmine. That was brilliant. However, the fans do not budge on their choice. When Belinda asks what Blink is about, Hassan says, it's this story where you're not allowed to blink. She then responds sarcastically, well, that sounds like an absolute epic. After the fans tell them that they can't reveal how they can defeat the villainous Mr. Wrong-a-Ding-Ding-Ding, who is revealed to be the god of light, Lux, Belinda says, God, you're so annoying. To which Lizzie says, yeah, lots of people say that, but we don't care because the thing is, we're a bit annoying, and I know that. You're wasting your time because the truth is, you're not fictional. We're not real. We don't exist. Hassan, Lizzie, and Robin are then revealed to be a trap set up by Lux to mess with Belinda and the Doctor's minds to stop them from escaping his film. The episode is full of cheeky winks and references to Doctor Who fan culture, while Alan Cumming returns to the series as the villainous Mr. Wrong-a-Ding-Dong-Ding after making his original debut as King James in a forgettable 2018 episode. So that happened, George.
Yeah, just to tie in what we were saying earlier, the great tragedy of Doctor Who is there are 97 missing episodes, and that number will never go up.
Yeah.
That's quite good, that isn't it? That's brilliant. Well done. Are they actors? Asked Lee Smith. Someone tried to claim they were real Doctor Who fans. They're actors.
They're actors.
So the show then ridiculed the very people that are keeping it on air.
Yes. Yeah.
I think cheeky winks is understating it a bit, don't you think?
Well, it wasn't that. Totally. It was more than that.
Yeah. It was a direct get at the fans. I think the more I thought about it, I mean, the whole thing about it as well. Julianne saying J.K. Rowling said Nicola Who, quite right too.
Yeah.
Of course she did. And Paddy and I,
nice to see cigars, she said. Yeah.
Yes, Paddy and I saying to us, Miss Coughlan has a lot of opinions for someone who just pretends for a living. Don't they all? These idiots think they're some sort of important people in the world. George's reaction to Mark Graves is like...
I don't know this because obviously I have no insider information whatsoever, but all this says to me is Russell T Davies and his entourage know the show is Dead Man Walking, and their attitude is, what the hell, we're going out in a blaze of glory.
So they think. Regardless,
Yeah.
So they think, and it was just ridiculous. Just honestly, what it did for me, George, not that I was 100% into the story at this point, but it took me even more out of the story because the logo was even in the scene. The title sequence was on the television with the logo, and I thought, what is he doing? And for me, it was a whole waste of 2 scenes. Or 3 scenes, whatever it was, which could have been used to try and develop the story more. And this is why I think he needs a very strong script editor who has the balls to turn around and say, see this bit here, not that funny, mate. Take it out and develop that bit and that bit there.
Yeah.
You know?
Back in 1978, Graham Williams vetoed a scene in The Stones of Blood where Romana presented the Doctor with a birthday cake.
Yes.
Because it was the 100th story. Because Graham Williams said that is far too self-aware. It's not going to happen.
Yes. And here you get these obviously written parts, so these characters who are just, I'm not even going to use the word geek because they were shallow.
Yeah.
And like much of the new version of Doctor, it was hollow because it was just him having a go at the fans, and considering that he is supposed to be an allergic fan,
they were just walking cliches, weren't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, obviously, I've not seen it, and all I've seen are those stills that you had on the screen there, JT.
Yeah.
But when I looked at those, the first thing I thought was, okay, time to get the DEI bingo card out.
Yes.
Lesbian, gay, Asian, and disabled fatty. There you are.
Yeah.
Tick, tick, tick.
And the thing is, as well, on the shelves behind them are DVDs and.
I was going to say, I can see Doctor Who DVDs.
Yeah,
they had the collection sets as well. I couldn't believe it. It's like they've never bought those, surely.
Everything that was in the BBC Studios office was brought down to fill the set. But it wasn't it, Who viewers? It was ridiculous. The whole episode was, well, for me, it wasn't. It wasn't.
It was completely unnecessary to have it in there, wasn't it? To be honest, there was no point in it being there at all, other than just to annoy us. You know.
There's I was as a child and remain even now a huge fan of a live action Jerry Anderson, which was the precursor to Space 1999, and it was called UFO.
Yes, UFO, of course, yeah.
The Ed Bishop, who played Ed Straker, the head of this secret organization called Shadow, he would often clash with a senior Shadow operative called General Henderson. And there was one episode, and I can't remember the name of the episode, but he's having this argument. I think he's been infected with something as part of a alien plot. And he's having this argument with General Henderson, and it almost comes to blows. And, you know, it's really quite a powerful scene. And then all of a sudden somebody goes, cut. And it steps back, and he's on a film set, and he's looking around going, what the hell? And the guy playing Henderson goes, fantastic scene there. You really nailed it. And going off and doing something. And he finds himself on the film set, which of course is in reality was the real film set, but they've stitched it into the story. So it was like he was stepping out, breaking that fourth wall, but it really, really worked. And it was done really, really well. Mm-hmm. And that was 1970, you know, and then you fast forward 55 years and you have this sack of monkey brains.
I've got a question here for us, guys from David B. Most of us dislike RTD Mark II. Haven't really heard anyone talk about Murray Gold Mark II. What do you think? The reason for me that you haven't heard about it is because it's forgettable.
Yeah, and even that's been rehacked as well. He's been reusing music from other episodes, hasn't he? As well.
Yeah,
I think.
Do you know what? I can't remember any of the scores.
Yeah. But it's very loud. It's very intrusive.
Yeah.
It was on Saturday's show for Lux, Ian. I found some of it quite grating in that, but then I can't remember it because it doesn't have. Maybe it's because I'm not invested in the show, but it certainly hasn't captured me like 2005, 2006, 2007, or even 2008 did.
Yeah.
You know, those initial 4 years. Because I was one of these people that was thinking way before he departed, let's put it like that, he should go now because the program's music is becoming samey. A bit like how it happened, God bless him, with Dudley Simpson, I guess. And they needed to do something different. And then they brought in Akinoa or whatever his name is. But no, I can't remember any of it, David B. So that's why. And good luck if they're going to bring out a Gatwa album with the music on, or do can you imagine how many people are going to turn up now to the Albert Hall?
I just thought for a minute, oh no, he's going to sing on it. Oh, please no. Yeah.
I bet you the Eurovision Song Contest one we've got to come. Don't forget.
Oh, of course, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Doc Martin is saying to us, will Who's Views review old Doctor Who monthly comic strips? One of my favourite ones was the Fourth Doctor helping people escape a ruined city using an old railway. The ending was so sad. That was the last one featuring the Fourth Doctor. End of the Line, it was called. It was absolutely
End of the Line.
The answer to that, Doc, is yes. We've actually did one in 2023, which was, of course, the original version of Star Beast. And again, in answer to what Lee Smith was saying before, we're going to start looking at the original comic strips. We've got lots of plans for you. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you ring that bell, and stay with us, because when we've got all this Gatwa stuff out the way, we've got some great stuff coming up for you. So we are going to be looking at the old Doctor Who magazine strips. So stay with us here on the channel, because they're beautiful and we cannot ignore them for much longer, I think. I'm very excited about that. Isn't it telling, says Mark A. Wright, that every single one of the fictional fans were wearing icons from the classic series?
Yeah.
And Lee Smith saying, George ain't having any of this. Yeah. Hello, Josh H is joining us as well, saying it would be more interesting if the Doctor and Belinda accidentally joined the Who's View stream instead. And again,
they
Mark
wouldn't
A.
dare.
Wright,
They're too scared.
No, they wouldn't cope.
Mark A. Wright saying to us again, not just the Doctor Who logo, but the BBC logo as well. I didn't see that because I was too busy going, oh, what is he doing? Honestly.
Yeah, it was just above. It was just above it.
Where it usually is.
Yeah.
Oh, Duncan is saying to us, Red Dwarf did it better, and that's not saying much. I don't remember that one.
It's interesting it didn't have the Disney logo, though.
Oh. And Dalek Guy, they broke out of a modern-day flat-screen television from a 1950s cinema. How does that happen? And the fans don't even act shocked. What a load of garbage it was. I gave up caring at that, because I noticed that as well, Dalek Guy, and I just thought, oh, who cares? You know. What's this from Paul Rose? He's doing whatever the hell he wants. If I were Disney and the BBC, I'd be considering legal action for squandering the budget and intentionally ruining the franchise.
Yeah.
That would make a great headline show, wouldn't it? Not that I'm suggesting anything. Yeah, that would make a great headline show. Mike Disney asks, why did the male fan have such a high voice? Because he was sitting on a K9 pin.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, they were all sat on their arses hugging their mugs, one of which was a K9 mug. State 194. You might think that, but we couldn't possibly comment. And Heretic's with us. Hello, Heretic. RTD owned the chuds, but he doesn't pay attention to social media, and yet we all know he does. It's very obvious because the RIP Doctor Who hashtag was in the show. Ridiculous, isn't it? You know, lots of comments now for because you've mentioned UFO, Ian. Lots of comments.
Yeah, that I've had reminders of the episode and also reminders of the absolutely stunningly gorgeous Gabrielle Drake.
Oh, Gabrielle Drake, there's a name.
Lieutenant Gay Ellis.
Is she still with us, George?
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
You don't see her much now then. She must be retired then, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, she must be mid-70s by now, I guess.
Oh, yeah, so there wouldn't be much work for a woman in the mid-70s now, would there, really?
It was a long time ago. I once had the pleasure of meeting Gabrielle, and she's an absolutely lovely person, absolutely lovely.
I remember as a little boy she was everywhere, wasn't she? And she was a very nice, lovely, capable actress.
Yes.
They bring Gabrielle, if you see this, they're bringing Miss Marple back. That's all I'm saying.
I'll tell you something, though. 1970, Jerry Anderson, who previously done Supermarionation and then he went on to space 1999. 1970, Gabrielle Drake, she was the commander of the moon base.
She was, wasn't she? Yeah.
No messing.
But she did all the cleaning, though, didn't she?
Sorry?
She did all the cleaning, though, didn't she?
I've just thought of several jokes, but we can't tell them because they're not.
Ian, if you're an admirer of Gabrielle Drake, you want to track down a film called Au Pair Girls.
And we'll move on at that particular point. Murray Gold's music has become too overbearing now. Thing 194, too much, far too much, and it's nowhere near as good either. And Farsight is saying exactly what we said on the show on Sunday. Don't you just know they'll be the gods of Ragnarok? Yes. Was it you that said to put that in our heads? I am expecting the gods of Ragnarok to turn up at any given moment now with the whole "you will entertain us" thing. It's good to see so many of you here. Josh H saying to us, good point, Murray Gold. I can't think of anything really substantial he's done in his second spell. I like the Toymakers theme. Can't remember it. Some of Wild Blue Yonder. Can't remember it. And other than that, Legend of Ruby Sunday to a point. I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember any of it. I don't know about you guys.
No.
She had a theme, didn't she? It was very piano-y because she was supposed to play the piano, apparently.
Yeah.
According to him.
We never saw it, did we?
No, it never. He made a big thing of it, did RTD, at that Wales event. Huge thing about it. Never happened. Just, another
And
thing.
yet they had the piano in the Devil's Board as well.
Yeah.
She was playing it in that little
Did she?
freakish group she had at the start. Do you remember in the Christmas episode?
Yeah, I do remember
was
that,
part of a group, wasn't she?
Do I remember? No. Of course I don't. Oh, look at this now as well. I'm catching up with some Yokai63. Looking forward to your Doctor Who comic strip reviews. This is excellent news. I'm glad you're liking the idea. Steve Hindley is saying Junkyard Demon and Voyager for me. Oh, as Kirsty would do. Chef's Kiss. Wonderful comic strips. And the Iron Legion for me, please, says Stephen Braddock. It was epic. That blew me away as well when I was a kid, because that was the first one we got from Marvel, of course, about that. Absolutely amazing. Hello, David. It's nice to see you. Around Christmas last year, I bought a bunch of comic strip adventure books, including the 8th Doctor Adventure, Volume 1, Endgame, and Volume 4, The Flood, which is near impossible to find these days. It really is. Not bad. The Flood was long, but it was the last 8th Doctor one in the magazine, so it's important.
With the Cybermen, wasn't it? Yeah.
The stylized Cybermen, which I never took to.
Yeah.
No, too thin, and the ear things were like triangular, weren't they? They were.
It was
very
almost like the Vood, wasn't it?
Yeah. Which the Colin Baker strips had tried to tie in with the Cybermen, hadn't they, at one point?
In a much better way, because that was quite a good reveal, as we call it now, wasn't it? Where they evolve and the Time Lords know about it, and I'll have to allow it to happen. It's all coming your way. Make sure you subscribe, because if you don't know any of these things, there's a hell of a lot of Doctor Who magazine comic strips to get through. That's going to take us through until the next version. Moo Pawoo, meep meep, hello. And Alma Ray is saying, yeah, Gabrielle Drake still looks great. I haven't seen her for ages.
Sure,
I'm glad she's still around.
I'm sure she does.
Lots of you really excited about this. This is great to hear. The classic comics are how I'm currently getting my fix. It cleans the palette after a new episode. That's what we sort of thought, quite honestly. And William Orlock, 86, nice to see you. Catherine Schell often retires and someone gives her a part. Catherine Schell. I haven't seen her for many. I met her at a convention.
Yes.
Oh, was it the turn of the century? She was lovely as well.
Katharina von Schnell is her actual name.
And all I could see was Maya.
Yeah.
Countess.
Oh, they got the orange pips. The orange pips.
Actually,
fabulous, Ian.
UFO connection there, because Catherine Schell starred in Hammer's sci-fi epic Moon 02, which was for Hammer a hugely expensive film, and it was a huge box office flop. And to recoup some of the costs, they sold a lot of the props and costumes off to Jerry Anderson's production company, Century 21, which then turned up in UFO.
Yeah. Moon 02 has a very, very, very UFO theme for the hardware and everything.
Yes.
And I actually love Moon 02. One of the main baddies was Warren Mitchell, who played Alf Garnett.
Yeah.
And his henchman was Bernard Bresslaw.
Really?
Yeah.
I loved this. I loved it. I mean,
Warren Mitchell. I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
Easy.
Warren Mitchell was a very well-regarded actor.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Cropped up a lot in Hancock's Half Hour.
Yeah.
On the radio, Hancock's Half Hour, he did loads of different voices.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes, a lot of Moon 02's props, costumes, everything were recycled for UFO.
Yeah.
And they look really good as well.
Legion of James, good to see you. He's telling us that Colin Baker and Katie Manning will be doing Reading Comic Con in May. Julianne is saying to us, Murray Gold, meh. bit like the series. And Carwyn Morris is saying, yeah, right, the gods of Fraggle Rock at this point. That wouldn't surprise me either, to be quite honest. Yeah. It really is. So, listen, thank you everybody for joining us. It's so good to see you joining us for tonight. But wow. Yeah. We've all gone on to other stuff now, haven't we, everybody? But yeah, it's good to see you. But that it was good just to see George's face.
Yeah,
we were talking about what happened on Saturday night, wasn't it? Really?
Can we do alternate reviews and force George to watch them and get his take on that?
I think after this, I'm going to have to watch the Time Medal or something as a palate cleanser because I'm feeling a bit unclean now.
I want Matchbox face on a T-shirt. Just a George one, just saying, I don't think so. Yeah.
I don't think so. Oh, well, listen, Mike C32001, all together with the Moon 02 song by Julie Driscoll. Yeah, okay. Listen, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for your Wednesday headlines here. Great start to the top of the show with our William Hartnell tribute. And then we've gone on, thanks to Bedweer again for his ratings analysis. He'll be back with us next week for the next update. We're going to be back in just a couple of short days. We're going to be back for headlines on Friday for your big show here on Who's Views at 8 o'clock, the usual time, as we look towards the next Doctor Who episode and any of the headlines that they drop, because don't forget, whenever they drop a headline, we're going to be here to talk about it. Come and join us on Friday night at 8. To Third Doctor Ian and to Paul, thank you very much. And to George, lovely to see you.
Thank you, lovely to be here.
And thank you for your contribution for that lovely tribute to our first Doctor.
What an absolute pleasure. What an
on.
Absolute pleasure just to salute Mr. Hartnell.
Indeed.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah. Wasn't it? And of course, we'll see you on the other side then, I'm sure. Actually, no, we've got a Carry On review coming next month, haven't we? So we'll see you then.
Undoubtedly.
From all of us then, thank you for joining us. We will see you Friday night live at 8. Ta-ra, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Night.